is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. The Michael Decon program. It's amazing. And now, Michael Decon and Mike Hideous. A mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. The Michael Decon program is amazing. And welcome to a brand new life, to a brand new day, all the way from the wastelands of California. My name is Michael, and I am a mere figment of your imagination. First-time listeners out there, thanks for finding this. We hope you stick around. Do keep in mind, no matter what it is you do choose to believe, we do admire you for your curiosity. Now on the first half of the program, we will be going back through time. What really went on with Nazi Germany? Were the Nazis in possession of advanced technology? We know through Operation Paperclip, the best minds were sent to America, which did indeed help us get to the moon. Kasten is our first guest this evening. He is a UFO researcher and freelance writer. His latest book is called Dark Fleet, the secret Nazi space program and the battle for the solar system. And of course, after the break, it's just me, Mike, and you out there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing us into your hearts and into your minds. Here we are again, on a night like this. Glad to be back, glad the wait is over. I'm hoping you're doing well out there, wherever you are. And now I believe everyone is ready to go. Let's bring in my co-host, the man of the hour, who has drawn assignment yet again. Mike Hideous, what's going on?
Hey there, Mr. Decon. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Well, I just want to tell you it's excellent to be with you once again on this fabulous show on a night like this. Right. I must ask you real quick, was that a new intro?
I believe it was.
That was awesome. I loved it.
Me too. And I believe our guest is waiting. Let's bring him in. Mike, he is patiently waiting.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lynn Kasten. I'm sorry about that. I'm not quite sure why I was calling you Ken there for a moment there, Lynn.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no problem. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Very nice. I'm glad. Yes, sir. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for spending some time with us this evening.
Now, where are you calling from, Michael?
I'm actually calling from California, way down south, my friend.
How far down?
Well, I live in a place called El Centro, California. It's about an hour away from San Diego. It's close to the border out here, actually.
Well, we're practically neighbors then. I'm across the border into Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes.
right. You're out here in Arizona.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not too far from me.
Beautiful
Practically
state.
neighbors.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Nonetheless, how are you doing out there? Is the family okay? Are you handling the lockdown so far?
Yes, I am. I am handling it quite well. My wife passed away about 2 years ago.
Oh,
So,
sorry to hear that.
But my son lives here, and I have a couple of grandkids here too. So I'm fine. Not a problem.
Good for you. Good for you. Sorry about your wife, and it's always
I
good to have.
do miss her. Yes.
Yes, we're
Of
sorry.
course you do. Of course you do. And my deepest sympathies for you. But at least you got the little kids running around.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that's I'm sure you're very happy to have that joy in your life.
Yes, and they're all cooped up in my son's house together now, just like the old days.
Nice.
His son is back from college. He can't live in the dorm, and his daughter's there, and his wife is sick, so she's there. So he's got a full house over there. I have my own place, so I'm not part of that.
Very good. Very good. I'm glad everything is going okay out there for you.
Yes, it is. It's fine.
Oh, yes. And the listeners out there send their sympathy as well for the loss of the wife. Hate to hear that.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem. And of course, your latest book, I have it right here, Dark Fleet. You know, lots of subjects you touch upon in this book, lots of people aren't even aware that this went down, Lynn.
I understand that. Did I give you my website address yet?
I believe you did.
Have you gone to the website yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there are 7 videos out there. The main, what I call the special featured video, is the one you should watch because it validates everything I have in my book. And it's another voice from Michael from Tompkins, Bill Tompkins. Do you know who Bill Tompkins is or was?
Yes.
Okay, he passed away not too long ago.
Yeah, lots of people are dropping out.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's too bad. But his second volume of his book did come out after he died, and I haven't got a copy of it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But everything that he says validates everything in my book. So he at least was in tune with everything I've said. He was in a position to know.
Understood.
So.
And Mr. Kasten, you're a former member of MUFON.
Yeah.
Why a former member, by the way? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry?
Why a former member? Why aren't you a member now?
I got tired of talking about lights in the sky. We went way beyond that. And they were still hung up in phenomenon that they couldn't explain. I just couldn't hang out there anymore.
Understood. I'm sure it must have been quite frustrating for you as well.
Yeah, well, I think MUFON has a particular attitude, and it's kind of limited, I think. But they do a lot of good work. They do a lot of good work.
Definitely, and you have written a number of books on ufology. What was it about ufology that intrigued you enough to begin writing in this, to begin with, Lynn?
Well, we have to go back to my days in the Air Force because I had an experience there that I think changed my life, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it became evident to me about 2 or 3 years later. And up until that point, I didn't even know what a UFO was. So evidently it got buried in my subconscious. And then when I was working in Washington, about 2 or 3 years later, I felt drawn to join an organization called NICAP. I don't know if you've ever heard of NICAP.
No, I don't believe I have.
NICAP was really the first NICAP was the first version of MUFON, but much more beyond. They went much more beyond MUFON. It stands for National Investigative Committee for Aerial Phenomenon, and they had some very, very prestigious people in the organization, including Admiral Hillenkoetter, who was the ex-head of the CIA, you may know, and he became the head of NICAP after he left the military. So we had some very distinguished people in NICAP, and somebody named Larry Bryant was one of them. And I learned a lot from all of them, and all of a sudden it all took shape for me. I was working for IBM at that point in Washington, and I started participating in some of the events that NICAP was putting on, including protests at the Capitol, things like that. So I was really into it at that point.
Understood. And how long did that carry on for?
Well, I stayed with NICAP.
Go ahead, Mike.
I stayed with NICAP for a while, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
It's okay. I just wanted to ask you, what year was that?
Right.
That was in the 60s. That was way back in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
About the time I got out of the Air Force. That was right after I got out of the Air Force, because the incident I'm talking about happened just 2 weeks before I was released from the Air Force, when I had my experience, and it carried over into my civilian life.
Understood. Can you tell us about your experience, Len?
And before you tell us that, can you tell us, were you involved at the time when the experience happened and you were serving? Were you serving time as in combat? Because I know the Vietnam War was going on back then. Were you involved in combat military?
No, I was not. Okay. I was in a weather detachment in Florida. So
okay, just curious.
Yeah. No, I was in I had been in pilot training and for about a year, and then I washed out of pilot training and I reverted back to a enlisted status, and just finished out a 2-year enlistment after that in a weather detachment at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. And it was at that base that I had that experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me be the first to say, aside from all the topics that we're talking about tonight, thank you for your service in the military for this country.
Okay, my pleasure.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it.
Right on.
Yeah, tell us more about this experience, by the way, Len.
Well, we were sleeping 2 in a room. I was in a barracks in a weather detachment at Eglin Air Force Base, and on some strange reason, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I never do, and ran to the window. And I don't know what made me do that. But no sooner did I do that than this thing went right by, almost at eye level, glowing green and gold, phosphorescent, and moving very, very fast. And I couldn't believe it. And I put my nose up against the window and I watched it until it disappeared out over the Gulf of Mexico. And scratched my head and went back to sleep. And that's all I can tell you. The next morning, however, the tower operators came in, the midnight shift, and started chattering about UFOs. I said, what's a UFO? They said, well, we had 4 of them on the radar last night hovering over the end of the runway. I said, no kidding. I said, I saw something coming from the end of the runway.
No kidding.
Said, really? I said, yeah. I said, and he explained, I described what I saw. He said, well, you better go report it to the UFO office. I said, the UFO office.
You didn't even know what it was.
I had no idea. I had no idea what it was. I said, but I found out where it was, and I went over there, and there was a captain sitting there with a 5-page questionnaire. This was part of Operation Blue Book. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I do in retrospect. I was part of Operation Blue Book, where they had officers at every Air Force base taking reports of UFOs. And he asked me a lot of questions, and I told him what I'd seen. And he said, by figuring out when I first saw it and when it disappeared, he calculated that he said it was going about 3,000 or 4,000 miles an hour.
Whoa!
I said, what? He said, yeah, that checks. I said, that checks with what? I had no idea.
I didn't even know they had those radar guns to check 4,000 miles an hour.
I know. I don't know what they had that checked it, but at Eglin was a very important base because a lot of experimental stuff going on there at Eglin Air Force Base in northern Florida. Well, I said okay, and I did my duty. I reported it, and it's in the obviously in the archive somewhere. My report, and went back, and 2 weeks later, I was released from the Air Force.
Really?
But not before I got very, very sick. Very next day after I made my report, I got very sick. It seemed to be a super flu of some sort because I couldn't hardly move. And that was very unusual for me because I was in very good shape and never got sick.
Was it the coronavirus, Len?
It sounds like it, I know.
Right.
But I had to go to the base hospital for 3 days.
Oh, my.
And I remember that all I wanted when I got there was grapefruit juice. I said, just bring me grapefruit. I said, just bring me grapefruit juice. Anyway,
I don't blame you.
I was there for 3 days. And then, much later I found out that when people are taken on board a craft, they do get sick. It happens a lot. And sometimes they do get flu-like symptoms. So evidently what happened that night was this. To recapitulate what happened, evidently I had been taken on board the craft, and they dumped me back into my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the way, my roommate never even stirred. He was asleep through the whole thing, and they had dumped me back into my bed, and that's what woke me up, and that's what made me run to the window. So that's what happened. Putting it all together now. So I think I was taken on board the craft, and that's why I got sick the next day, because that does happen a lot. People do get sick after being abducted. I wouldn't even call it an abduction. I would call it, for some reason, they just wanted to tell me something, and I don't know what it was. It got buried into my subconscious. But that's what started the whole thing.
Interesting. So you had this strange experience, and do you suppose this was some sort of extraterrestrial, or do you think it was maybe someone in uniform, Len?
It could have been either, actually. It could have been a MyLabs abduction. I don't think they had crafts that would travel like that fast at that point in time. So I think it more than likely was extraterrestrial. Didn't have to be extraterrestrial. It could have been intraterrestrial, which we can talk about later.
Sure.
Meaning man-made?
Meaning aliens living here on our planet who have that technology.
Understood.
That's a whole other ballgame. We should get into that, though. We will get into that.
Yeah, we'll jump into that.
Talking about the reptilians. But I don't think it was a reptilian abduction. I'm quite sure it was a military, some sort of military abduction, working with the aliens. We had a lot of military people working with the aliens at that time.
Len, I gotta ask you the question here. With lots of individuals out there who will listen to this, I'm sure many of them right now are wondering, what on earth are you talking about with these reptilians? Can you explain, Len, for the newer listeners out there, who these reptilians are?
You mean there are still people out there that don't know that?
Of course, Len.
Really?
I'm sure.
Well, I think it comes down to people who have, such as myself, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I've heard about this whole reptilian thing, but I don't quite understand it. I don't know its origins or how it came about or how long it's been being claimed by others. So yes, please explain.
Okay, but before I explain, I would recommend that you go out to my website and watch the video that's named Special Featured Video.
And what is your website, Len?
It's Alien-Secret History. All one word, Secret History. Alien-Secret History.
.com?
7. What's that? Yes, .com.
Okay.
I have seven featured videos there. This is what I call the special featured videos, the first one. And if you watch that, I think you'll get at least a taste of what the reptilians are all about. Because I don't know whether you know about Bill Tompkins. Do you? Have you heard of Bill Tompkins?
I haven't personally, but when you're done explaining about that, I want to ask you a question, bring something up about the whole reptilian thing. But go right ahead. Go ahead.
Well, he covers exactly the same territory that I did in my book, so it's a good thing to watch that video if you have any questions about the reptilians. You do know about David Icke, don't you, in England? Have you heard of David Icke?
Yes, I'm well aware of David Icke, but Mike here, he doesn't quite understand or know who David Icke is. But yes, back to the question though, how would you explain the reptilians for a newer listener out there?
Well, they're an alien race living here underground on this planet, and they look reptoid. They have scaly skin. They're very tall and powerful looking, and extremely mentally powerful. And they've been here for a very long time. And they more or less can leave through portals, fly off into space anytime they want. They have very sophisticated technology. And well, it's going to take a lot of explanation to talk about how they relate to us, because that's a long story.
Well, that's true. It'll take a long time to fully explain. I just thought you would give us a brief rundown there, but yes, it's a complex ordeal to say the very least.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very complex thing here.
The bottom line is that they do control us. Even though they're down there and we're up here, they do control the surface world because they have incredible technology. One of the speakers recently said that their technology is it could be as much as 1,000 years ahead of ours. That's how much advanced they are. So they really run the show here. And I tried to make that point. He did, I think, in a few of his lectures. But it's a hard thing for anyone to understand. And in order to get to the bottom of that, you should read the book I wrote before this one, my previous book called Alien World Order, because I explained it all in that book.
Oh, yes. And of course, your last book, Dark Fleet, you mentioned the Nazis did not really lose World War II. Can you tell the listeners what you mean by that?
Okay, I will. But also, please go out to my website and watch that video I just talked about, because Bill Tompkins explains all of that. What happened basically was that Hitler lost the war. The Germans did not lose the war. The German scientists and the businessmen survived and moved to Argentina and to Antarctica. They tried to kill Hitler, but they didn't succeed because they knew that he was a problem, and he was a madman, and he was a madman. And they wanted nothing to do with him, really. At the end, they just wanted to get rid of him because he was losing anyway. And they were more interested in moving their operations to Argentina and to Antarctica. And that's what they did, because the first movement of the Nazis to Antarctica was in 1938, which was a year before World War II started. So already they were moving to Antarctica at that point, and that was because of a deal they had made with the Reptilians, who were already at Antarctica. It's a long story. I don't know if I can explain it all to you right in this one conversation, but read that one, go out and watch that one video. It'll help a lot.
Understood. And we know through Operation Paperclip, America took great interest in the German scientists out there, and we needed them, and we couldn't afford to let them go elsewhere, so we brought them here to America, and the rest is history.
That's right.
Exactly. You've got it right. You've got it right. It wasn't so much that we needed. It wasn't so much that we needed them. They needed us basically. They took over. They took over our country, and basically that's when I said we didn't win World War II. That's what I was talking about.
Understood.
We may have bombed the hell out of Berlin, yes, and we may have had the taste of victory, and we were victorious, and our fighting men were really incredible. But the scientists and the businessmen then took over and moved to Antarctica and to Argentina, and they stayed in power there. Basically, then took over our complete aerospace industry. When Wernher von Braun sat down at the desk of the Marshall Space Flight Center, that was the final straw. At that point, they were running the show in America.
Understood. I'll get into that with you in a moment. Mike, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, without going into a long, drawn-out question or an answer, I just wanted to bring up two things. Now, with all due respect, Len, my job on this show is to ask hard questions and questions that for people that are skeptical. All right, so please don't take offense to anything I say or
no, sure.
The questions I ask. It's strictly for the show. Now,
I understand.
I never heard of these reptilian people until the internet, and I began to see these images portrayed by people who are posting videos of others, be that whether they were political figures or whatever, and the simple process of blinking their eyes and allegedly showing a vertical iris or pupil of the eye as opposed to a round pupil or iris within a human eyeball. So that was the first time I saw these. Now, I gotta be honest. I see this, and the first thing that comes to my mind is this video's been doctored. I've seen it 100, maybe thousands of times on the internet, and it leads me to believe that there is a scam afoot. So my question to you is, what made you? I mean, do you consider yourself to be a logical man?
Absolutely, extremely logical.
Okay. So having said, and you know, you've served in the military, you've written books. You sound like a decent, intelligent man with logic. Now, the question I have for you is this: I
have an Ivy League degree.
See, there you go. So you got a brain in your head, and I respect that. What was that?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Go ahead. Continue.
Oh, just my question is this: what led you to firmly believe that there is a society, if you will, underground of what we would consider to be lizard/humanoid type people? What brought that on, and how are they associated with these so-called UFOs?
Hey, Mike, you know, I am a very logical person. I pride myself on that. But I have to tell you that I have one weakness. And some may consider it a weakness, and some others may consider it a problem. I go wherever the truth leads me, and it doesn't matter where it takes me. That's where I go, because when it becomes obvious to me that is the truth, I have no choice but to go there, and that's exactly what happened in this case. You know, I remember reading about David Icke and all the things he said, and for a while I thought he was crazy. And then I started to realize that he is also a very logical guy and very level-headed, ex-athlete, and he had no background in any of this. But he also went wherever the facts led him, and I had to do the same thing. That incident I had in the Air Force may have had something to do with it. It probably did. It may have opened me up to this. I don't know. But clearly, I began to see that we were not in control of this planet. The human race is not in control. We are being used. The reptilians run the show here. That's what has become very obvious to me, because they're very powerful mentally and very strong, and they have conquered 21 different star systems in this galaxy.
And how do you know this? How do you know this?
because I dug it all up later. After I got drawn there, I dug it all up. And then it became clear to me that what happened when World War II was they had made a deal with the Nazis. They made a deal with Hitler. And that's why Hitler moved to Antarctica in 1938, a year before World War II. What reason would he have to move everything he had, all kinds of scientists, all kinds of technicians, all kinds of equipment, to a base underneath the ice, under 2 miles of ice, 6,000 miles away?
I don't know, the beautiful weather?
A year. Well, it got pretty cold in Germany, so I don't think that made any difference. So what are they doing there under the ice with all this technology and all this equipment? And what happened was they were taken there by their friends, the Reptilians, who already had a very large base there. So that's what happened here. From that point,
so in a nutshell, your information comes from those who have written about it in the past.
I put all the pieces together. What I try to do is I just connect the dots. I do a lot of research, and then I just connect the dots. And this is my fourth book, and my last book is what led up to this book. Because after I wrote my last book, which was limited to events that occurred just on this planet, and I had no idea of what might have been happening on other planets.
Right.
Then I realized that I had to take my story to the Moon and Mars, or I couldn't finish it. That's why I had to write Dark Fleet, because the story was not over yet. And then I came to understand, mainly from the Super Soldier testimony, that the Nazis have incredible bases on the Moon and Mars, and have had for years. And that's why Wernher von Braun took over here.
Yeah, by the way, now that we're talking about Wernher von Braun, from my understanding, Wernher von Braun was given the prestigious title of the father of rocketry. However, my point of contention would be even Wernher von Braun himself had allegedly stated that it was the self-taught Jack Parsons who was the true father of the American space program for his contribution to the development of solid rocket fuel. I mean, the guy has a statue of himself at JPL, and also a crater on the dark side of the moon named in his honor, if I recall.
Yeah, Jack Parsons was very important, but also we had somebody named Goddard who developed rocketry here in the early days before von Braun. We had a lot of engineers and scientists here that were getting there, but Jack Parsons did. He was a very strange guy.
Very strange. Yeah, he was very, very weird guy. He was an avid practitioner of occultism and conducted.
Yes,
he conducted several.
I had no idea.
He conducted several rituals with L. Ron Hubbard, the father of Scientology.
Yes, and they made a video. They made a video movie out of his whole life. I don't know if you've seen it. You have to be able to stream on TV to watch the movie. But the name of the movie was. It's all about his life.
Yeah,
Parsons was a
strange guy.
About it. Yeah, he was.
And he was a bit of a weirdo, no doubt. One of those.
He was into Satanism. He was into Satanism and practiced Satanism.
Definitely.
And L. Ron Hubbard also. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Are we talking Satanism or just a cult? There is a big difference between the two.
He was a Satanist. Parsons was a Satanist, but he was brilliant also. And he and his wife got involved in satanic rituals in California while he was working on jet fuel, on developing jet fuel.
About an hour away from where I am, by the way, in Palm Springs, California.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, close by.
He was out there in the desert.
That's right.
Where exactly was he? I don't know.
Yeah, he was in Palm Springs, California, but I'm not quite sure if one of the rituals he conducted with L. Ron Hubbard was out here in Palm Springs. I could be wrong, but one of those rituals that both men conducted together, by the way, was called the Babylon Working.
That's right. Babylon Working, exactly.
Michael, what was his name again, real quick? I want to look it up later.
Parsons never actually registered at Caltech, but he hung out there, and he made a lot of contacts there, and that's where the military became interested in what he was doing, because he was well ahead of anybody else.
Isn't he the guy who blew up like a dorm trying to discover jet fuel?
You know, I heard
No?
about the dorm thing. It might have been the case. I don't know. He took a lot of risks, a lot of chances with what he was doing.
I
But he
had
was-
seen the. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But he was the one that first flew that jet-assisted plane in the desert.
Well, the reason I bring that up is only because I had seen a special once, I think on History Channel or something, about the creation of jets and rockets, and I believe what I heard, it could have been this guy. What was his name? Parsons.
Jack Parsons, right?
Jack Parsons. From what I understand, and I could be wrong about this, but I was under the impression that when they were in college, they were trying to discover jet fuel, and from what I understand, they blew up their dorm, and that's when the school had put them at in a laboratory out in the desert, so they wouldn't blow up the school. I could be wrong on that fact.
Yes, I think that's what happened. Yes, they did put him out into the desert, and that's where they were working.
Yeah, ironically, he died of an explosion.
Did he really?
Yep, 37 years old, if I recall.
Oh my!
Yeah, that's right.
Wow!
He died very young. That's right.
Jeez.
And what year do you think? What year did he die? Do you know?
It must have been, I want to say 1951, but let me look it up. 1952.
52.
Yeah, but he can't get credit for developing jet engines because Wernher von Braun was way ahead.
Yeah,
Von Braun was doing this in World War II.
Yeah, I was going to say we had jets in World War II, so it doesn't quite add up. Maybe he was involved in some other sort of discovery with them. I don't know.
Yes, we digress.
Von Braun and Dornberger were way ahead of the crowd in Germany, and he was building B-1 rockets. Let's see, the B-1 rockets were being built in 1941, correct? 41 or 42.
I believe
And
so.
The V2 was 1943, I believe.
By the way, we're at that point that we're talking about this strange element of the occult that is always and always has been involved for whatever reason. And I brought up Scientology with L. Ron Hubbard. What exactly is your opinion on Scientology, by the way, Lynn?
Well, you know, I don't really have enough information about Hubbard. I know he was in the Navy, as I recall, and he was involved in a lot of these occult practices, and that's where Scientology comes from.
Right.
But I don't know what his connection was with Parsons, though. I really don't understand that. Was he the one that got Parsons interested in Satanists?
He probably.
He might have been.
I'm not exactly sure the extent of their relationship, to be completely honest, but I do know those two were colleagues of some kind. And by the way, Mike, you're familiar with Scientology, right?
I am, and I gotta say,
what do you got to say about Scientology? I mean, all we know about, to be honest with you, most of us out there, we've only heard Scientology very briefly. We've heard various celebrities, rather, who had quote unquote escaped from Scientology. Mike, what's your take?
In a nutshell, I'm not a fan. This information about L. Ron Hubbard being involved in Satanism and or the occult, that's a shock to me.
That's what they say, right?
Never heard about that, number one. Number two, from the kooky stories I've heard about Scientology, I kind of find it to be a bit of a farce, only because of the fact, from what I understand, the original scripts that were written about it were based on science fiction. So I don't have very many good aspects on it.
Understood. I was just curious what both of you thought of such thing. And back on track here.
Before we leave that subject,
go ahead.
I would just say that Scientology evolved out of a subject called Dianetics.
Dianetics. Right.
Dianetics was really what Hubbard evolved, and
I remember the advertisement for that book on television.
Oh, really? Way back then?
Oh yeah, that was back
That
in.
was-
It had to be like either the late '70s or early '80s.
Right, right, exactly. And they were then believing in reincarnation. That was around the time that that book came out, The Search for Bridie Murphy, which was really the very first book on reincarnation.
Mm.
And there was a connection there. I'm not sure. Hubbard was into very deep subjects, and he was a brilliant guy. But he was heading in the wrong direction in terms of morally speaking. Let's put it that way.
And yes, like I said, since we are kind of at that occult element right now, what we're talking about in terms of the Nazis, they also were involved with the occult, apparently. Hitler, very much into the occult as well. And that brings me to the question, what exactly were the Nazis doing in Jesus Christ, Antarctica? What exactly were they doing there, though? That's what I'm curious about.
Let's start out with the fact that the reptilians have been living underground for a long time, perhaps a couple of thousand years on this planet, and more or less coming and going as they please in their spaceships. The reptilians basically control this planet. I know this is a hard thing to believe, but they do. Okay, they do. And they made a deal with Hitler in 1933. Hitler was dabbling also in the occult and Satanism through his friend. He was connected with a guy named can't think of his name right now. Anyway,
right.
He invited them to these rituals, to these black magic rituals, and his friend Dietrich Eckart, was seeking the Antichrist, and they would go through these rituals, these black magic rituals, trying to contact the Antichrist. And then they invited Hitler into this when he started to become prominent in Berlin politics, in Nazi politics, and it changed Hitler, so they say. And Eckart claimed before he died that he created Hitler by inviting him into these black magic seances. Now,
yeah, there's a lot of information for those that are curious about occultism and how the Nazis were very much into this. Himmler as well.
Himmler, big time.
Yeah.
Himmler was into it big time. In fact, more
very
so
interesting. Yeah, this is a very interesting topic, by the way, for those listening along. All of this is pretty much well known by this point.
Yes, I think it is. I thought it was too. I mean, I discussed it at length in my previous book, Alien World Order, but my book wasn't exactly a bestseller. So I don't know how many people.
That's
I don't
okay.
know how many people really.
I got to be honest. I haven't read that book myself, but I want to. I do like your book, Dark Fleet, though, and I have read a lot of it. And going back into time with you and all the listeners out there, so much was going on during that time in Germany and in America during World War II. It's always fascinating, and ufology rather, and occultism, all these things sort of blend together when you look back in time.
That's right, they do indeed.
Yeah, and then of course my limited understanding of the CIA has always been negative, as you know, Lynn. And it seems like the CIA seem to be involved in countless nefarious operations, and of course we never get many real answers for what may or may not have happened. All we get are these old CIA documents that we find online so many years later.
Exactly.
Terrible.
Exactly. Now, and if you read, how far did you get in Dark Fleet?
Well, I skipped around. I mean, I read up to about page 141, and that would bring me close to the photographs that you have here, like the base 211 and Antarctica. That's a great picture, by the way. I wish I had some images to show the listeners out there who are listening live on YouTube right now. Some of the images you have are pretty insane. I mean, You also have this Solar Warden spaceship in here as well, this rendering.
Right, exactly. And that's why I would like you to watch that video on my website when you get a chance.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
the point is that evidently what happened was the Nazi Party, that basically led by Himmler, was open to the advances of the reptilians when they made a deal with Hitler. Hitler was wide open to their influence because he was already dabbling in the occult with Eckhart. And the reptilians also live in the fourth dimension, which we call the astral realm. And from that realm, they were able to impress a lot of people who were dabbling in black magic, which Eckhart was. And Eckhart invited Hitler to these seances, and that's what got Hitler involved with the black magic people. And what they thought was black magic was really reptilian, because the reptilians control the fourth dimension.
Understood.
People don't understand that.
Right, and
okay.
Yes.
They think they're contacting demons. They're really talking to extraterrestrials. Okay, but they don't understand that.
Oh, you mean those people who channel, by the way?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So they're looking, but they think they're talking to demons. They're talking to reptilians. That's who they're talking to. And the reptilians decided that since Hitler now he more or less was into the black magic aspects, that they made a deal with him, because they were going to help him and the Nazi Party take over Germany, and in return, Hitler was going to do what they wanted him to do, which was World War II.
So the reptilians, you're saying the reptilians are against humanity or just against the allies of America that were fighting Germany? I'm a little confused here.
Against humanity. It's not that they're against humanity. They're contemptuous of us. They think we're stupid. And compared to them, we are. I mean, they control us completely.
And so,
you have to take,
so when they hooked up with Adolf Hitler, and from what I've read in history, Adolf Hitler was, he had his issues with the politics of Germany and the Jews and so on and so forth, and wanting to create a better Germany. So where do the reptilians come into play? Why would they step up and say, hey, we heard you want to kill 6 million Jews, let's give you a hand?
What they did was they laid it all out for Hitler. Hitler himself did not have the intelligence to do what he did. He basically was a man of mediocre intellect and mediocre talent. He was basically a madman. He was crazy. And he got crazier when he got involved in these black magic seances. And that's when the reptilians took him over, and they greased the skids for him to take over Germany. They made it possible. Hitler had to make a lot of high-level contacts among the intelligentsia in Germany, the scientists, the smart people. He himself could not do that. They did it for him. He did not have the intelligence to do that.
It's also...
They opened the doors for him. That's right. They opened the doors for him in the financial world, in the intellectual world, and they made all those contacts for him. And they're the ones that told him to go to Antarctica.
Understood.
Now, why would the Germans in 1938 outfit a large ship with top scientists, 2 seaplanes, and sail 6,000 miles across the Atlantic to investigate Antarctica a year before they invaded Poland? What on earth would have motivated them to do that? Think about that.
What's odd is that even in modern time, just a few years ago, we had several world leaders going out there as well. And I don't recall ever finding out why exactly they were out there.
What year was that, Michael?
I'm forgetting what year it was, but we had all the usual suspects that went out there.
Was it in the last 20 or 30 years?
That was after World War. No, he's talking about after the war.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking much more recent. We've had several people going out there.
Yeah, Buzz Aldrin. Yeah, Buzz Aldrin went there. John Kerry went there. A lot of high-level people went there. Nobody knows why.
Yeah, I don't know why.
As we get into it further, you'll see. I think you'll see why.
Yes, and by the way, going back to your book really quickly here, there's an image of Wernher von Braun with President John F. Kennedy. I've never seen this photo for some reason.
Now the question then becomes, yes, Wernher von Braun was a brilliant scientist. He was really one of the best people in terms of rocketry on the planet. However, he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi colonel. He used slave labor to create the V2, and a lot of slaves died under him. A lot of people in London died because of his technology. So he was not a good guy. Let's face it. He may have been a brilliant scientist, but he was not a great guy. He didn't care about who.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Mike was just saying, I don't think most Nazis were good people, and I would have to probably agree. Maybe they were not very good. Right.
Well, they followed Hitler, unfortunately, and Hitler was not only was he evil, but he was also a madman, and he was an incredible egotist.
Well, a lot of them were very high on meth as well.
In his case, was it meth? It was something else. It was a different drug. I can't think of the name.
No, actually, Hitler was getting both. From what I understand, if I remember correctly, his doctor was giving him methamphetamine to keep him energetic, and I also believe he was taking opiates for back problems.
Most likely.
Yes, he was. And when he took over the Nazi Party and started the war, he had the entire army on a drug called Pervitin to keep them always alert and ready for action.
Yeah.
They distributed millions of doses of Pervitin to the entire Wehrmacht and to the Air Force.
A lot of the housewives were on that, by the way, Len.
Yeah, it's primarily the same thing as methamphetamine.
Basically,
correct, right?
synthetic form. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the point I'm trying to make here is that here he is a year before World War II, before he invaded Poland, and they mount this expensive expedition to Antarctica.
Right.
And they open a base under the ice, 2 miles under the ice.
Yeah, we heard stories about this before from Admiral Byrd, by the way, but you know that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Top scientists, agriculturists, and the fact they brought agricultural people with them tells you that they were starting to grow their own food right away. Their plan was how are they going to grow food in Antarctica? That's a legitimate question. Why were they already, 1938, thinking along those lines? In any case, it was because the reptilians brought them there. And the reptilians created a huge underground cavern there under the ice where the Nazis set up their base. And that became what's known as called Base 211.
Base 211, the image in the book, yes.
Base 211.
Pretty nice image, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I had some good people helping me with those.
Yeah, very nice. And by the way, I just got to ask you, Len, the Germans seem to have superior technology. Even to this day, they are just top-notch, top talent in terms of engineering.
They are. They always have been, yes. And that's why the reptilians selected them to work with, for that very reason. Because
lizards
were high
can't multiply.
Low in morality. I'm sorry, what?
I'm just making a joke. I just said lizards can't multiply. I'm just joking around.
That is funny.
Yeah, for some reason, though, German technology, their engineering is just top-notch.
It is.
Even this, right. Mike, even this microphone that I'm using now is German-made.
Is it really? Was it made by a Nazi?
Probably. Maybe, I don't know. Shout out to the Germans out there, by the way. Big supporters out there in Germany. Guten Morgen for my German listeners out there. Much love to you. Respect all of you out there and all the international listeners too. Much respect. Yes, but I digress. Lynn, my goodness, this book though,
And one of my books has been translated to German, believe it or not.
Oh, did you? Do you have a fan base out there too?
Yeah, evidently. Yeah, I was surprised when the publisher told me that.
Very nice.
There is a German edition of, I think it's the one about Seppo.
I see. Book. I see, yes. And you also have stated before, Lynn, by the way, the Germans landed on the moon.
Okay, let's go back to square one.
Go back to square one. Okay, take us back.
Okay. Square one is base 211.
Base 211.
Base 211 was a German base in Antarctica that was really set up for interstellar travel. That was its purpose. And they were brought there by the Reptilians because the Reptilians were already doing it. And they were buddies. They were buddies. The Reptilians had 2 huge caverns under the ice there, and they had 3 smaller ones right next to them, and they gave those 3 to the Germans. And Himmler took over from Göring around that time, took over the SS, took over the Nazi Party from Göring, and he was responsible for developing that base 211. So they now had a base for traveling to the stars from Antarctica, and that was their purpose. That was their intent. Okay, base 211, and that's where they developed their first trip. The first trip to the moon was in 1942. I made that point in the book. I don't know if you got that far or not. But...
Right, I recall. But again, that's news to me, Lynn. Once I was reading that, I thought, my goodness, is that true?
Is there anything, are there any other people that back up this theory? Or, I mean, I've never heard this before.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
There's a German, I give the name of the guy. I think his name was, he was a German he was a German Air Force guy. Was the first guy to land on the moon in 1942. And Vladimir Terziski tells us that. I don't know if you know anything about Terziski or not. If you go to page 105 in my book, you'll see a picture of Terziski.
You said
Bulgarian researcher. What's that?
You said page 105?
Page 105, yes.
Oh, the Bulgarian researcher.
Yes, Vladimir
yes.
Terziski.
I see him now, yes.
That information about the first guy to land on the moon comes from Terziski. And it was Terziski that said that the German, in fact, I make that point right here. He claims that it was this technology that achieved the moon landing as early as 1942. He says, quote, first landing on the moon by the Germans was at the Mare Imbrium crater on August 23rd.
August 23rd.
August 1942 at 11:26. He even gives the time of day, using a Methe rocket. Methe was one of the brilliant German scientists who developed the first rockets. And he was the first man on the moon. It was not Neil Armstrong.
Is there any possibility that this could be is there any possibility that this could be a lie?
Yes, that's another good. Yeah, Mike, you're right. That's a good question, Mike. If this is not like propaganda for sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. Well, the reason I bring it up, Michael, is because there are so many conspiracies that
sure
that say that America never went to the moon. So, what proof do we actually have that this was also something that actually happened?
Right.
The answer to that question is no proof.
No proof.
That's the answer. Okay, that's the answer. But you got to connect the dots. You've got to connect the dots because by the time von Braun was taking over our the rocketry.
I got you.
By that time, 1960, Wernher von Braun took over in 1960. Took over NASA. Took over the Marshall Space Flight Center. It wasn't NASA itself. In 1960, by that time, the Germans had a very well-developed moon base. It was huge. And it was shaped in the form of a swastika. These buildings were in the form of a swastika, believe it or not. So now they have a moon base, and from there they developed a Mars base.
The Mars base, right. And that's where things
And
get even weirder.
can anybody see
weirder.
this? Is it
gets
still
weirder,
there?
actually.
What happened to it?
It's there, still there.
How come we can't see it on our telescopes? Or
Well,
our
not only
satellites?
can we see it, but we fly there, we go there, we land there. They allow us to do that.
So so what you're saying is all international space programs are associated with this these amphibious people who live underground.
Well, they gave
Is
the
that-
technology to the Germans. They gave the technology to the Nazis. Nazis took over America, took over our aerospace industry to the point where one of their top colonels took over NASA and brought in all of his Nazi friends through Operation Paperclip to run NASA and to get into all of our aerospace companies and all of our top universities through Paperclip. And they've been running the show here ever since. I know everyone likes to think we won World War II, and we did win the battle on the ground, but we did not win the scientific battle.
You know,
did not win the scientific battle.
I was a volunteer at the William McDowell Observatory in Lyndhurst, New Jersey for about 6 years, maybe 7 years. And I used to operate a $150,000 telescope, and I was trained by a NASA ambassador to take photographs of the moon and celestial objects. And I mean, none of this was ever brought up. And we would look at the moon constantly. And I mean, obviously you have to know what you're looking for, but at the same time, I mean, nothing like this has ever been brought up. Is this something underground? Is it above ground? I mean, does anybody know?
It's all underground. Most of it is underground. Yes, it is. Most of it's underground. Some of it is on the surface, but only on the dark side. The surface buildings are on the dark side. And the guy who knows most about this is John Lear.
Yeah, he's been on the
John Lear?
Yeah, I've spoken to John Lear, and it's been maybe 2 years since the last time I talked to John Lear.
John Lear says there were 200 million humans on the moon.
That's something he did say.
200 million?
That's allegedly. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what John Lear has said throughout the years. And, you know, it gets even weirder, boys and girls. You know, the story of another gentleman comes to mind. I believe his name is Gary Mckinnon. And
yeah, Gary McKinnon, that's right.
Yeah, for those who don't know, after allegedly hacking into NASA websites, where he says he found images of what looked like extraterrestrial spaceships. And
that guy?
Yeah, I believe he did this from his girlfriend's home, by the way. And
was it? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, what's interesting is that Gary, he actually has listened to the show, and I was going to bring him on. And he also apparently saw files that stated off-planet officers, and I don't know how true that is. I don't know. Again, he did serve plenty of time, and I wish I could bring him on to discuss this, but the last time I tried, he had told me that he can't talk about it anymore because all of this ruined his life as a result. And, you know, I have to respect his wishes, to be honest with you.
At least they didn't get him over here and put him in jail.
That's true.
He came close to that.
Yeah,
he's close to that. If we'd ever got him over here, he would still be in jail.
Right. Gary's not American, by the way, for those that don't know. Gary Mckinnon, look into that. He said a lot of interesting things, but I'm glad that he's all right. I would hate to see something happen to him. Interesting guy.
He was an interesting guy because he broke that whole thing wide open.
He sure did. Strange. Go ahead, Mike.
Len, having been an associate, or I should say a member of the military of the United States of America, and having spoken about this publicly and written books, have you ever been approached by the Men in Black or even jailed or questioned for that matter?
No, I'm really small potatoes. They don't want anything from me.
Small potatoes.
So small potatoes. compared to what else is going on.
That's funny.
They leave me totally alone.
Okay,
They leave me
fair
at
enough.
arm's length.
By the way,
Just let me write my crazy. They just let me write my crazy books, and they look the other way.
Lynn, you also mentioned concentration camps, I believe, in your book.
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's right.
And the experiments conducted were quite disturbing, to say the very least.
Hitler was a madman. He was totally mad. He was absolutely crazy. He's sitting up there on top of his mountain with his girlfriend and his dog, his German Shepherd, while they're shoveling people into the ovens here down below, without blinking an eye. None of it bothered him. I mean, it was unbelievable what kind of an individual he was. He was absolutely had no morality whatsoever.
That's why he was a Nazi.
And what's that?
Mike just said that's why he's a Nazi.
Yeah,
that's why he was a Nazi, exactly. And the ironic part of it all is that while they looted Europe of $100 billion during World War II and sent most of that money to Argentina, he wound up living a comfortable life in Argentina until 1962.
Yeah, isn't that something, by the way, Lynn, that a Nazi, Adolf Hitler, for that matter, would go out to Argentina of all places? I find that rather amusing.
Well, it's not so amusing when you realize that Argentina has a very, very strong Nazi population.
Really?
German population. Yes. And if you go to my website and watch the video number 4.
Number 4.
Video number 4. Yeah, watch that one.
You got it.
Hitler's escape to Argentina. That point is made.
Nice. Okay.
The population in Argentina was very open to Nazi influence, and that's why they took Hitler in after the war.
Interesting. Mike, go ahead. I think you might have had a question or something. Go ahead.
Just another perplexing question mark.
Jump in there. You mean Lynn?
No. I said just another perplexing question mark over my head about what's going on.
I thought you were calling him Mark.
No.
I can understand that, Mike. I understand that completely. Believe me, I know that we must sound crazy to you, but unfortunately,
no. Don't take it the wrong way. No, don't take it the wrong way. Look, I respect what you believe, what you've written, what you've seen. All of that is valid. It's just, again, I'm a very skeptical person. It is my job to ask tough questions. It is my job to be skeptical. That's my whole, position on the show. So no disrespect to you, sir.
We know we need healthy skepticism in this game here. So you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing.
It's nothing against you. It's just I'm a skeptic, and I need proof to understand things thoroughly.
Okay.
Yeah, so we understand
that at all.
The hard part, the hard part of all this is that we don't really even get answers about anything from the quote unquote officials. That's the bad part. We get CIA documents that are torn to shreds, and they're copies of copies of copies that are released just decades later.
Right.
That's really the only validation we get. So I understand that. No doubt.
Michael, remember when we spoke to Leo Zagami?
Sure.
How he mentioned that this, and I'm saying this based on the conversation we had. I don't remember exactly what he said, but something to the extent that this was the decade that there was supposed to be alien connection, or communication, if you will.
Yes, and we are getting to that point right now. I was going to bring up chapter 15 in your book, but before we do, Lynn, I was going to ask you, are you ready for a break before we jump in even further here?
Sure, absolutely. That'll be great.
Yeah, no problem. Mike, are you ready for...
Give me a chance to eat my dinner.
Yeah,
quick.
There you go. Go ahead and eat there. We'll be back.
How much time have I got?
You got about 6 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll eat fast.
I'll give you 6 minutes here. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll get back to you in a moment here, Lynn. Hang tight.
Okay.
So yes, we'll be right back. And Mike, definitely a good question, and I'm glad we left off right there. We have a lot to cover here, and of course we are going to go on a little break here, boys and girls. And Mike, are you ready for that first break already?
Yes, sir, buddy. I'll be right here. When you're ready, you just jump back on and we'll connect.
No problem. Hang tight, Mike.
Okay, bud.
And there he goes, boys and girls. That was Mr. Mike Hideous and Lynn Kasten. Lots to talk about here tonight. Lots to talk about here tonight indeed. Skepticism is, of course, always needed. And yes, copies of copies of copies is really all we have in terms of getting any sort of quote-unquote facts. And history in general. One must question history as we see man lies all the time. Most men lie. Most who write history lie. To paint it into their favor, into their agenda. So it's good to question everything, no doubt. And when we return, we have much to cover here. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned, boys and girls. Round 2 is in fact next. Hang tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Michael and Mike of the Michael Decon program. It's goddamn amazing.
And welcome back, boys and girls, for round 2. And I believe Mr. Mike Hideous is patiently awaiting. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, brother. I was
There
just
you
sitting
are.
here. I got to tell you, I never left. I was sitting here, and I was listening to some of the strangest noise
Really?
coming through the headset. Very, very odd stuff.
Very odd indeed. And of course, we have returned with our guest, Mr. Lynn Kasten. By the way, Lynn, say hello. Lynn, are you
Lynn?
with us? There you are.
Are you there, Lynn?
Or is Lynn not with us?
He's still eating his
No, I'm
dinner,
here.
Michael.
Oh, no, he's here. We got him back.
Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear now.
I thought you were still eating your
Okay.
dinner.
No, I just grabbed a bite, and then came back to the computer.
Very nice. I'm glad you're back. We missed you, Lynn.
You know, I'm looking on the IMDb database online about Jack Parsons.
Yes.
I wanted to get the name of that movie. I think it was Dark Angel. I remember the movie name being Dark Angel. It was on Netflix. It was a whole story of Jack Parsons. But there's also another one called Jack Parsons, Jet-Propelled Antichrist, made in 2006 that I'm looking at.
Nice.
Jet-Propelled Antichrist.
Jet-Propelled
Great.
Antichrist.
What a great name.
2006.
I got to check that out.
Yeah,
You said
that is
it's
a
on
good name.
Netflix?
This one is on. It's on Stars. STARZ. Stars.
Stars. Okay, we're going to have to look that up.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
I think this particular one is not real. It's cartoonish. This one's cartoonish.
Someone in the chat room said it's called Strange Angel.
Okay, Strange Angel. I thought it was Dark Angel, but Strange Angel sounds like that's the right one. Yeah.
And that's the one on Netflix?
Stars.
So both of them are on Stars.
The one on Stars says this is the story about one of the fathers of modern rocketry and the founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which still leads the way in the development of rockets and the exploration of space. Its founder, Jack Parsons, was also an occultist and a sorcerer who followed the teachings of Aleister Crowley. After repeated investigations by the FBI, he died at the age of 38 in a mysterious explosion that made headlines around the U.S.
Young guy.
Officially, it was a tragic accident. Other interpretations of the event persist to this day. That's a little bit of background on Jack Parsons.
Nice. Lynn, are you okay back there? You are coughing. Are you sure you're not coronavirus free?
Oh no! Oh please, no! Oh God. No, I don't have any fever at all.
Okay,
no fever.
good. I'm just making sure you are A-okay out there, Lynn.
I'm A-okay indeed.
Perfect.
I'm fine.
Very nice. And of course, before we went on a break, Mike brought up a pretty good point. And before we went on the break, I got on here and just quickly mentioned how it's very hard to get any sort of validation in terms of proof of any of these things, because all we really get are these documents, and it's through the
blacked out.
Yeah, most of the time, yes, blacked out, redacted.
Well, the point I was going to make after our discussion, it's a very important point. If indeed the Nazis took over this country in 1953, which they did through paperclip, wouldn't you believe, and wouldn't you say that it's logical that they would suppress, after they took over, they would suppress any attempts by us to get control of it again, and to keep us from the moon and Mars ourselves? Wouldn't that be logical?
It's hard to say.
I'd like to answer that question, if I may. Here's my conundrum with theories and information like this. I have recently been stricken, ever since I've been doing this show with Michael, I have been stricken with this confusion of being able to comprehend whether or not my government is a complete farce in multiple subjects concerning, UFOs or politics, whatever it may be. I have recently become very, very confused as to what the hell is going on.
I'm glad you came to that conclusion, Mike. I mean, you see the news today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You see the news today, Mike, and you question it all the time. So I'm sure you have skepticism towards the history of this nation as well.
No doubt. And it's
exactly. You should.
It's become highlighted since you and I have begun working together on the show.
It's called being red-pilled, Mike.
Right. With all the people that we've interviewed, Michael, it has gotten me to a point where I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Good. I'm glad.
So that's why I say all due respect to Len. It's nothing personal against him when I.
Yeah, we know that, Mike. It's okay.
Right.
We're all friends here.
How come more people aren't saying that? That's what baffles me. Because it's so evident that something definitely crazy is going on.
Sure.
How come nobody else understands it? That's what baffles me.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that goes back to what I was about to say, which is I've always been a patriot. I've always been, a love for my country. And,
sure.
And to hear things like this really makes you think, like, what the heck is going on?
That's good. I'm glad you are thinking this way, Mike. That's a good first step.
Really, I think you're making progress. That's good.
That's right.
Really good.
Step
in the right direction.
Thank you, guys.
That's how it starts. That's
right. Exactly. That's how it starts. You're asking those questions. Well, you really got to go back to the Kennedy assassination to start to understand what's going on here, because he was killed for a reason. And in order to understand that, you have to understand the story of Allan Dulles. Do you know anything about Allan Dulles, Mike, at all?
I do not, sir. Can you tell us briefly about what he is, who he is?
He took over the CIA in 1953. Okay? And his brother, John Foster Dulles, his older brother, John Foster Dulles, happened to be Secretary of State at that time. So here we had two Dulles brothers. Both of them were Nazi sympathizers. Allan Dulles' connection with the Nazis goes back to when he was in Switzerland during the war. Not only that, but listen to this: both of them were lawyers in New York City, and one of the things they had to do in 1933, they were represented a financial company called Kuhn Lieb, very, very well-known financial company. They represented them. What they had to do in 1933 was to go to Cologne, Germany, and meet with Adolf Hitler to arrange financing for him to run for Chancellor of Germany.
Okay.
Now put that into your head for a minute. Here, these two men that ultimately became two of the most powerful men in America, arranging for Hitler to take over as Chancellor of Germany in 1933 as lawyers. And this one man, Allan Dulles, becomes head of the CIA in 1953 and has a lot to do with the assassination of John Kennedy, and who sat on the committee to examine the causes of Kennedy's assassination. Think about that. Allan Dulles. And Eisenhower was just too naive. He was a great president, but he was too naive and he didn't know anything about politics. So he let these two guys run the show, and they did. And that's where it all started. Meanwhile, one of their friends named Wernher von Braun was taking over NASA at the same time. But try and put all that together, and it just blows your mind, really, when you think about it.
Believe me, Len, I ever since I've been working with Michael, I have been putting a lot of stuff in my mind, and it's beginning to hurt. I can't take some of this stuff. It's confusing.
I know. I understand, Mike. Completely, believe me.
I know.
I'm glad you're bringing a healthy dose of skepticism into the discussion. Believe me.
I know. It gets even
I try.
crazier, Mike. I mean, we haven't even mentioned President Dwight Eisenhower yet. Oh, it gets even crazier.
Well, I want to know more about Len's book and his outlook on
Right.
the theory that he has concerning these reptilious people. So I want to hear more about what he has to say about his book.
Well, it's hard to believe. When David Icke first started talking about them, I thought he was crazy too. And then when he said that the Queen was a reptilian, I really thought he had blown his mind.
Sure.
But, that the Queen was a shape-shifting reptilian, and that she developed scales and fangs when she went into her reptilian body. I mean, think about that. Who would believe such a thing?
That's
Who
insane.
would believe such a thing? That this gentle old lady could become an alien reptilian participating in blood rituals underground at night. I mean,
Yeah, but
nobody would
hang
believe
on a
that.
second.
Yeah.
Hang on. You're saying became. We're talking about the Queen of England, right? The Queen of
Yes,
England.
we are, yeah.
You're saying
Yeah.
became a reptilian. So I mean, I've seen pictures of her as a little girl when her parents were king and queen. What happened to her? Like, what'd she do? Get bit by a reptilian person, like a werewolf, and turn into a lizard? I mean, how? How did that happen?
According to Ike, they have the ability to shapeshift. They can shapeshift and appear to be human. And I find it very hard to believe myself because I look at her, I hear her speak. She seems like just a nice old lady, really. And I can't imagine her drinking blood of children underground during these rituals and having scaly skin and turning into a monster.
So,
But Ike was serious about all this, and he persists. And the more I looked into it, the more I began to believe him. And I think probably he was telling the truth.
wow, hardcore, man. Baby blood.
Oh, I mean,
now we're talking.
well, now we caught up to much more of what's going on in modern times. You have these
Exactly.
you have these conspiracies of the rich and powerful conducting some sort of a satanic ritual, Mike, by the way, and drinking blood as well. Allegedly.
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 It's interesting, though. I mean, even
Stephen Colbert would say.
Yes, and even bringing that up, as it may, even chapter 15 in your book, the slave trade, you were talking about Mars and such, and that's a hard pill to swallow as well. But when we think about it, it's strange that the Germans were interested in eugenics, and who do we know that was also into eugenics? Jeffrey Epstein and one Bill Gates.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's very odd.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a very good point you made, Michael. Putting that together, because pedophilia has always been part of. First of all, the Germans are well-known slave masters. They always have been. That's the point I made in my book, and that's the reason I went back to World War I and before to point that out. How they have always been slave masters, and why they're basically. I don't know, Michael. Did you read that part of my book where I said that Hitler's dream was to create an empire of slaves all the way to the Ural Mountains?
Yes, I did.
And put all the women in brothels.
I was hoping you'd mention that. Yes.
That was his goal.
Yeah.
That was his goal.
That's weird. What a creep, by the way.
What a creep.
I mean, what kind of a monster was he really? And
oy vey.
So, all right, I got a question. So,
jump in there.
Was Hitler the only person, shall we say, a military tyrant involved in the things that he did? Was he the only man, a tyrant in this case, that isn't allegedly involved with these other forms of life, these reptilious people? I mean,
Well,
was
you have the
Saddam
whole
Hussein a part
party.
of them? Was Bin Laden a part of them?
Who would you say, Bin Laden?
Right.
Yeah. Not Joe Biden, Bin Laden.
Yeah, basically he's asking about world leaders being controlled by this nefarious group, correct? Something like that,
Call
right?
them the Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
Call them the Illuminati.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That's an interesting theory.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, they run the show. They run the financial world. They run the pharmaceutical world. They run Hollywood. They run it all, and they have all the money. Okay. We're
Now
talking
that
about
makes
the
sense.
Illuminati. We're talking about the Illuminati. That's right. And the Illuminati allow us to have a certain amount of freedom in America, and to put on the appearance of actually being free people, but we're not. We appear to be free. I agree. And we
But
did
why
win
just
World War II, and it was an incredible effort. What?
Why just America? Why? I mean, it seems to me like, all right, America is based on freedom, or at least so we think. Whereas other countries are, especially in countries that are run by more tyrant type people. Why? I mean, why would it be just America that they would want to be lenient on and give freedom to?
Because of the traditions of the founding fathers and the way this country was founded on the basis of freedom, and everybody being free and equal, according to Thomas Jefferson. Because that's our heritage, and we're the only country in the world that really has that heritage, and that's the reason that we are so powerful and so strong, because of that. Because we are basically humane. We are a humane people. We're basically a decent people. And so that's the irony here. That's the irony. We do appear to be living a free life, but we're not. We're not. Because we do not have anything near the technology that the Nazis have on the moon and Mars. We don't have anywhere near that technology. And when you start talking about quantum computers, about regeneration of the body, about reversing age, these technologies exist, and the Nazis and the Germans on Mars and the moon have that technology. They keep us around like a cattle ranch. We're like a cattle ranch here.
And what are they waiting for?
They feed us. Well, they're using us actually. They do take large batch consignments of humans underground, and do eat them and drink the blood whenever they feel like it. So they keep us here on the surface, just like in the movie.
What's the purpose of killing and eating humans and drinking baby's blood? I don't quite see the purpose myself.
It's not a purpose. That's just the way they are. They're different. They're a different species. They don't have any of the DNA that we have.
Are they from another planet?
Yes, they are from another planet. They're from the Draco system.
And how far back does their history go involved with humans on Earth?
Hundreds of thousands of years, but they were here before we were here. They were here before we even got here.
So were they making? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What we call the human race of today is only about 50,000 years old. The reptilians have been here for over 100,000 years.
And have they been making deals with other people in the past?
They control 21 star systems in this part of the galaxy. They control them. They have technology that would blow your mind. Be that
as it may, though, is there any written information of people from the past writing about or documenting making records about this so-called race?
Well, you have to understand something called mind control. And that's a whole other subject. And they have that power. They understand mind control.
I'm glad you brought up mind control, by the way. That's always very interesting. As we know, the godfather of such a creation was a German.
Who, Freud?
No, we're talking about the angel of death, Joseph Mengele.
Oh.
That's right. There you go. Joseph Mengele was having his fun in the concentration camps with the slaves there, and he actually got to Argentina too. By the way, he survived.
By the way, Len, I'm curious what you would say about those who deny the Holocaust altogether.
I don't know, because it does stretch the mind to. I mean, it blows the mind to think that this actually happened.
Sure.
That the Holocaust actually happened. When you see pictures, like I was watching a video of World War II with Eisenhower taking some Germans from the small towns in Germany on tours of the concentration camps, so they could see what happened there and how they reacted. With disbelief, they could not believe what they were seeing with their own eyes. People being shoveled, thousands of people being shoveled into furnaces. I mean, nobody could believe it. And yet it happened. It happened because one madman developed complete power, and he became a Caesar, literally a Caesar in modern dress, to the point where he was actually more powerful than Julius Caesar was. He actually was more powerful, and he was able to make it happen. So if one madman could make that happen, get the whole German population behind him, they thought he was great for a long time until he started World War II.
Right.
He solved unemployment problems. He solved the inflation problem. He did a lot of things right. And when
Built
he got
up
them
the
all
military.
behind him,
Yeah.
he built up the military. Then when he got them solidly behind him to the point where they were all saluting him with a Sieg Heil, then he started World War II. So you see, one man can do that. One man can do that. That's what makes me so nervous about the modern era, frankly.
Understood. Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
It really does make you wonder, especially with all these alleged sightings that are recently going on. And speaking of which, now that we are back into much more modern times now, what do you make of the Pentagon talking about UFOs again? Some say they are, of course, just drones and not craft.
Well, in order to get the complete story, you have to take into account what I call the Federation. I don't know what you read my original book, The Alien World Order?
I believe so.
We have a lot of friends in the galaxy, and they also have terrific technology, but they're not able to help us. We have to help ourselves. But they're there. They are there, and they're all, just like on Star Trek, they're humane, they're moral, they're intelligent, and that really will be our destiny if we can just rid ourselves of what's going on here with the reptilians. Our destiny really is a Star Trek generation, eventually, when we will be traveling throughout the galaxy and freeing the slaves. Yes, we will be doing that eventually. That's our destiny, but right now we're not seeing it.
Understood. And what do you make of Elon Musk?
I don't know what to make about that guy. I really don't. Some of the things he said are crazy. He says are rather crazy. The
reason why I bring up Elon Musk is because, of course, MIT and Mr. Elon Musk, they, of course, are underway with such technology where you'll be able to control various things with only your mind.
That's like biotech.
Well,
yes, and basically man is meshing with machine, and all of that is happening right now before our eyes with this pandemic we are currently facing. I'm just getting much more questions in my mind as we go along here tonight. All of this is very odd.
I think it all, based on Len's book, on what he, the topics he brings up, it all kind of ties in together, Michael.
It really does.
I mean, the things that he's now. I got to be honest, Len. I haven't read your book. I don't have it. Michael read it, but I haven't. So my questions are from the standpoint of a listener in our audience, per se, if you will. This way, Michael reads the book. I ask the questions from a blind point of view. So a lot of the things that you've written about, I'm assuming, have to do with these theories of of what is at, the hidden secrets of our society and our world and politicians and politics. If I'm correct.
But the nice thing about your attitude is that you do have an open mind, and that's a good start. You're willing to consider all these crazy theories that we're talking about, and I know they do sound crazy. Believe me,
it's happening though. I mean, it does sound crazy indeed, but all these things are happening right before our very own eyes.
Exactly.
With
they
this
are.
biochipping going on.
Yeah, we're in a strange situation here. We really are. The human race has tremendous potential, and the human race is basically decent, but we cannot express our decency because we're really being suppressed. We're being suppressed and mind controlled, and we have been for hundreds of, maybe not thousands of years even. That's the situation we're in.
So, Len, if I may ask, in your book, do you describe what the future holds for humanity? Like, are we facing extinction?
Yeah, the end game, right?
Yeah. What's your take on what's going to happen?
Well, all I can tell you is I just hope the Georgia Guidestones are not correct.
Really?
You know about the
Yeah.
Well, you know what the Georgia Guidestones are saying, right?
No. Well, actually, no. Tell us what is going on right now, and with the
those three stones that are standing in that town in Georgia say that the population of the Earth will be reduced to 500 million. 500 million.
Really?
And yes, that's the prediction in stone. And of course, it's in Georgia for some strange reason. I don't know why.
Georgia.
Yeah, right. Georgia.
A lot of people do talk about the Georgia Guidestones and what their prediction is on those. And it's all engraved on those three stones. They're really actually like big gravestones is what they are.
And this is Georgia, America, not Georgia, the country.
Georgia, America.
Georgia
Guidestones. Look it up on Google. Google that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Will do. And is there a set year for this alleged destruction?
I don't know. I don't think so. Destruction is that we'll be reduced to 500 million people. And when you look at this virus here, I could see where this could continue to mutate and could go crazy. It's a very strange virus, and it could reduce the population tremendously.
That's right.
It's all over the world. It's all over the world. How does a virus all of a sudden appear all over the world, even in the tiny little countries that don't even have airports?
Well,
that's true.
That's because it's a flu-like virus, and
it's airborne.
But it's not in the air. It's not in the air. It's got to be contagious from person to person, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. It's airborne.
It is airborne.
It is airborne.
It can
yes.
become airborne as well as remain on surfaces for extended amount of time. Certain surfaces like metal. But with all due respect, Len, I don't know how much you know about pandemics of the past, but we've had a few. As a matter of fact, I just learned about one that was taking place during Woodstock in 1969. And they, I don't quote me on this, but I think I read there was something like 100,000 deaths worldwide. Again, don't quote me on that number. I can't remember exactly how many people had died. But again, that was probably the most recent big pandemic we had back. But every year, we have people who die in the tens of thousands of flus that kill people. It's just that you don't always hear about it because it's just a flu. This one we know about because it's of the CCP.
Well, do you want my opinion on what a virus is?
Of course.
I just came to this conclusion within the last 2 weeks by studying nanotechnology, looking into nanotechnology and robotology. I think that the virus is basically what they call a nanobot. It can only replicate inside the human body. It cannot replicate outside of the human body. So it's got to have a host in order to replicate. And so contagion is the key. that to me is part of artificial intelligence. Really, what that is artificial intelligence. It's not biology. So I think we're being controlled by artificial intelligence, basically. And that's what viruses are. That's why they're so dangerous. They're what they call a nanobot, Nanobot.
And by the way,
So
aside from just the books that that you author and you talk about and all these interviews that you do, Len, I'm sure there's so many things on your mind aside from the topic of reptilians and ufology that definitely plague your mind. So I'm glad we are having this discussion with you. We've got this global pandemic. We've got conflicting reports going on. It's really interesting, and that's a pretty fascinating theory that you have about AI.
well, it's all under, but see the way it connects with what we're talking about is that basically the reptilians are more or less in control of AI. They control it, and that's how they have conquered all these other star systems, is with using AI. So I'm beginning to think that perhaps what's going on right now is the fact that the reptilians did not succeed in World War II, but they did succeed after World War II in establishing incredible bases on the Moon and Mars. So they basically control the solar system. And that's why the subtitle of my book is The Battle for the Control of the Solar System, because that's really what it is. If they control the Moon and Mars and they control us, which they do, the only planet left is Venus, and that's a whole different story. It's a whole different story. So we're into the solar system now. We're no longer confining our investigations to this planet. We can't. That's why I had to write this book, because I realized that.
Right.
I realized that until we started talking about the Moon and Mars and the Nazis on the Moon and Mars, we couldn't understand the whole story.
Understood.
Now,
Go ahead.
Now it becomes possible.
Right. And Lynn, I got to ask, are you working on any new material?
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
A few things around my brain, and I got some ideas. One of the things that fascinates me is the Kennedy story. I do know that the Nazis were involved in the Kennedy assassination, and I'm trying to make those connections. That Lee Harvey Oswald was living with a Nazi family at the time of the assassination. So I'm trying to make that connection, because I do know that the Nazis wanted him out of the way. He was a real patriot, and they couldn't deal with him. So those photos in the book of him walking along with Wernher von Braun is really quite ironic when you think about it, because I don't think he had any idea of what the Nazis were up to at that time.
And by the way, Lynn, we are kind of winding down with you here in this segment, but I have to ask, Lynn, why are there...
I don't understand.
I don't either. I'm as perplexed as you are on that one, Lynn.
I can't give you an answer to that. I just don't know.
That's okay.
I just don't know.
And Lynn, did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself?
You want my opinion on that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think Trump got him out of prison.
You think Trump got him out of prison?
No way.
That's my theory.
Oh, my. Do tell, Lynn.
Yes, please tell us your theory.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Well, I mean, think about it. Weren't they good friends?
Well, sure. I mean, I think they knew each other.
Yeah, but no. They weren't good friends. He knew Epstein, and as a matter of fact, he even said that there were some times that he had to disassociate himself from Epstein because of his involvement with young girls.
Women. Yeah, there's a quote of him saying that, indeed. And it is unusual to say the least, but of course I've never heard that theory before, and I have images of Trump dancing at a party, and there's Jeffrey Epstein right next to him. I always have that up here in the live chat. So yeah, I would have to say they were good friends. Sure.
Well, I don't know who got him out of prison, but I'm quite sure he survived and he's out there somewhere.
My goodness.
Somebody got him out.
But someone got him out.
Yeah.
I see. So.
And the only reason I said Trump is because Trump did have the power to do that, and they were friends. That's the only reason I came to that conclusion.
His name his name was in the little black book. A lot of his numbers were there.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, I am skeptical, of course, but when you see that many numbers, you have to say and scratch your head. I wonder why.
And
Well,
now that
not for nothing, boys, but the Clintons had probably just as much, just as much power, I would say, as the president in their mafiosa-like ways.
Well, sure. There's no contention for me from that. Everyone seems to have been involved to some extent. Lots of money exchanged from both parties. Plenty of times. I mean, Trump was a Democrat for a long time.
Right.
A big funder of the Clinton Foundation. Matter of fact.
That's right. That is absolutely
I
correct.
don't know who got him out of prison, but that the way he escaped was the way he was supposedly killed. I just don't think it happened. It sounded too phony.
It's a little weird. Yeah, the way that played out, for sure, and the way the media has not covered it since the event took place. It's very telling, Lynn and Mike, that there is something nefarious going on with some of the biggest names in Hollywood as well.
I'll tell you how
Exactly.
I think he got out of prison.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think he got out of prison through a body bag.
Well, that's what happened indeed, Mike. Indeed. Through a body bag. But how he got there in that body bag still remains a bit of a mystery.
Absolutely.
Are you saying he was alive in the body bag?
Well, he could have been. Some people.
I think he was deader than a doornail, in my personal opinion. I think
Okay.
my opinion is I think that the Clintons were the ones who had him offed, and
You never know. It's possible.
because there was some very delicate, sensitive information concerning Bill and the association with that sleazebag, and that's just how I think it happened. I think they had him killed.
Well, when you think about how widespread pedophilia really is,
Right.
especially among the rich and powerful, and how important a figure Jeffrey Epstein was in the world of pedophilia with his private island down there, I find it hard to believe that his friends didn't somehow help him, because they all had a lot of money.
Yeah, look at Ghislaine Maxwell. No one knows where she's at.
Yeah.
See, and I agree with that theory. However, at the same time, it is my theory that once he got locked up, a lot of people panicked, and it is my opinion that they set out to silence him, and by doing so, thus hanging from a noose.
By the way, Joseph in the chat room does mention, well, actually, wrong person. Actually, Robin in the chat says Gates too, and yes, we have found out that Bill Gates also a big funder and big fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Unbelievable
Now,
how that was never brought up earlier.
Has Bill Gates been connected with pedophilia?
I don't think he's ever been connected with pedophilia, but he sure was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein, that's for sure.
I didn't even know that. I did not even know that.
Yep, they're good.
I do know about his theories about population control. I do know about that.
It seems like that's also something he's very much into. Again, that's where we have the sort of correlation with eugenics and the Germans and Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates. These gentlemen very much into these things. It's
good point.
It's
good point. Exactly.
Very odd, to say the least.
Yes, it is. It is, Michael, indeed. And I think all those dots can be connected. I personally can't connect them, but I think if I spent enough time on it, I might be able to. I don't know.
There might be something there, though. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's 2020. You can't rule it out.
They're begging to be connected, but I can't do it. I don't know. Somebody's going to do it. I don't know who.
Someone will, Lynn. And yes, 2020.
You know what it is,
very
guys?
Strange year.
You know what it is, guys? We are the little people.
That's right.
It's the big people on the chessboard that make the big moves for us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
And that's what I mean about all these, quote unquote conspiracy theories and seeing these so-called documents and getting just bits and pieces of facts, I guess we can say, through the Freedom of Information Act. We get these documents sort of proving more or less along the lines of what we are seeking for and validation of the truth. And again, it's very difficult to sort of come to a rational conclusion of what may or may not have happened. That's always the issue.
But I must say this. My overall opinion is a positive one. Why? I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
I know we have a lot of very good friends in the galaxy.
Right.
I know that. What I call the Federation in my book, and the Federation exists, and it is Star Trek, and I think our destiny really is Star Trek. I think once we can clean up this mess down here, and in order to do that, our consciousness has to expand. If we can expand our consciousness, we have tremendous power. The human race has tremendous potential. If we could expand our consciousness, we could clean up the whole thing in a matter of a few years, really, because that's how powerful we are. If we could once get on top, get where we should be, and if our friends would help us, but they can't help us.
I got to say, Len, I admire your thought process on the possibility of humanity ever being good to one another. However, I must strongly disagree with you, as I feel that humanity is a war mongering species and I personally, I don't think it'll ever change. Having said that, I have a question for you. Do you or do you not believe in God?
Well, I do believe in a form of God, yes. And in my book, I talked about the Elohim and I talk about a triune God. But the general conception of God as a big man sitting on a throne somewhere, this is much, much bigger than that, much bigger. When you think about this galaxy and these stars out here, no one person created this. This was something much more vast than that. So I can't connect it. I can't connect it with one individual or one person or one entity. It just seems impossible. It's too big. It's too big.
Were you born and raised in religion?
Yes, I was.
May I ask what your belief was?
I was born in a Jewish family, but I never was actually a believer. And I became a skeptic at a very early age, especially after taking a course in the philosophy of religion in college. Then I became a real what you might call it. I wasn't exactly a non-believer, but my mind was open after that.
Right.
And I think I've tried to keep it open all this time.
Understood. Well, Len, we are wrapping up here in a few moments, but Len, I just want to say this has been a very fun. I hope you have enjoyed the conversation here tonight. It's been.
I have. I really have. It's been very, very, very. It's been very challenging. Very interesting.
It's been fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a great time here with you. To be completely honest, all these things that we've talked about have been on my mind, and especially after reading this book, quite fascinating. And the name of the book, ladies and gentlemen, is called Dark Fleet, the Secret Nazi Space Program and the Battle for the Solar System. That is, of course, Len Kasten, author of Alien World Order. Another great book. And of course, Len, go ahead and plug your website if you want.
Okay, the website is Alien-Secret History. It's still under construction, but I have enough out there to give people a good idea of what it's all about. So they can check it out.
Very nice. Once again, I do want to thank you tremendously for being a part of the program, Mr. Kasten. It was fun, and I'm sure we will have to do this again in the near future. Yeah, man.
I really enjoyed it. Yes, it's been great.
Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Thanks for putting up with my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Well, actually, you've kept it earthbound for us, which is good. We needed somebody to do that,
right?
Because otherwise, we'd fly off into the void.
That's my job.
I'm
glad you like it, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
I really did.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We will do this again, my friend. Take care.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Good
Enjoyed
night.
it.
Take care, Len. Nice talking to you.
Okay, thanks. Same here. Bye-bye.
And there he goes, boys and girls. That was Mr. Len Kasten. Great guest, in my opinion.
Yeah, nice guy. Nice guy.
Yeah, I really liked him.
Yep.
And of course, Mike, we are coming up on the final break here.
Yes, sir.
And that's the final break, and it's just me and you after the break, Mike.
Oh, no. I got to talk to you?
That's right. You know it.
I couldn't be happier.
That's right. So once again, boys and girls, we will return in a few minutes. We are going to go on a little break here. And when we return, round 3 is next. And of course, your calls are always welcome. That's if you want to play with me and Mike.
Give us a call, folks.
Yeah, give us a call when we return. And Mike, I'll see you in a moment, my friend.
Right on, brother.
All right, hang tight, Mike. And there he goes, boys and girls. I have him muted as well as myself in a moment here. And when we return, round 3 is next. We have still so much to talk about with you. We have Joe Biden to talk about, and we have Paula White, another subject in mind here. My goodness, so much to get into with all of you out there. And yes, Vlad, that may or may not happen during the break. And yes, this bottle is starting to run dry here. Time to refuel, boys and girls. That is a sign for me to go back to the fridge and go to the restroom. And that is perhaps something you need to do yourself. So take this time to go piss or go to the fridge or do both. Whatever works. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Have you thought of breaking through? Ain't it part of what you do? Catch a victim while he's dumb. Break his larynx with your time. And it's time to get high. Well, this ain't no goddamn dream. It's exactly what it seems. Wake up today just to lay back down and say, I won't be coming back. Let's call it a heart attack. Give me some of that knack. This is just a final payback. They all flipped on me, took my passions, left me be. When I had a place to sit, a goddamn attitude to fit. Talk real smooth, knew where to spit. But things have changed and I've quit. Got nothing to look forward to but a backlash full of lies. You're too late for where you're going. This is fate, the whistle's blowing. It's much too late. It's all too late. You're much too late. Like a piss hole punk with his nose turned up and a fragrance all your own. Tell me what it's like to be alone. And let's not forget the Scarface prick who offers fix to your face. He dropped out of the subhuman race. That's sad. Boo-hoo-hoo. I'm goddamn glad that piece of shit was just a fad. Tell me, boy, where were you? What's your story? I mean, really? Where have you been? Was it the big time and full of sin? Tell me what you saw, chasing dragons down the hall. So now I find you just the same, a generation full whistles blowing. It's much too late. It's much too late. You're much too late. You're much too late. You're much too late. Tell me, where are you going? Where have you been? Tell me, where are you going? Tell me, where have you been? Where are you going?
is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. The Michael Deacon
Deacon, and Mike, Hideous. The Michael Deacon program is amazing.
The world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery.
The Michael Deacon program is amazing. It's amazing. And now, Michael Deacon and Mike Hideous.
Oh boy,
Yeah, old boy is right.
I already have a headache. And welcome back to the program. Thanks for sticking around and staying patient. Those who did decide to stick around after that break there. Now, this is the part of the program where we sort of speak our minds even more. Round 3 is here, boys and girls, no doubt. And let me bring in my co-host, Mr. Mike Hideous. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. And here we are, round 3, Mike, and I'd like to invite everyone out there to call in. That number is 760-332-8724. One more time, 760-332-8724. Don't be scared.
Call in, people.
Yeah, call in if you'd like. This is always the fun part of the show, by the way, Mike.
You think?
Oh, of course. You know, it's been a pretty fun night so far.
Absolutely. What did you think of the theories?
Well, Mike, I have a lot to say before I even talk about that. But one thing I do want to say is thank you to Oli Damagard, by the way. A very positive response in the Patreon series episode that I did, by the way, Mike.
Nice. Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah, I did a good interview with a gentleman from Spain, by the way.
Sweet.
And lots of people enjoyed that one. That was for Patreon. I uploaded it for those out there because of the show from Friday, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I threw them a little bone.
There you go. Good.
I had to be nice somehow. Yeah.
Well, every once in a while, you throw out some really nice characteristics of yourself.
Well, sometimes I have to remind people.
Remind them what?
Well, you know, that I care about them.
Oh, okay. All right.
I let them know I care, and here's a little gift. You don't have to pay for this episode at all. It's free.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, so
Well, I'm
for those who
glad to
want
hear
it,
it.
yeah, for those who want to go ahead and listen back on YouTube. It's uploaded there for you, boys and girls. So enjoy it. And yes, V in the chat room, calm down, Gary. Very true.
Yeah.
He's angry somewhere right now, right?
Yeah. Somewhere he's angry. He's pissing
pissed
somebody off.
Yeah, he's pissed off right now.
Yeah. He's like, don't tell me to calm down.
Oh my.
You didn't read my book, you bastard.
Yeah, you didn't read my book. What a crybaby.
Oh my lord.
But Mike, it's been a pretty fun night so far. A pretty calm night out here.
Yes.
Very, very quiet out here in my town in
Is it?
California. Yeah, it's super quiet, and I enjoyed this night here. I enjoyed the nightlife out here, the very quiet nightlife, and I feel resurrected yet again, Mike.
Yeah, that's good. Good
Yeah.
for you, man.
I
I'm
saw.
glad. I mean, like I
I
said,
saw
it was a
God.
good interview.
I saw
Len's a-
Mike. I saw God in the bathroom, so now I feel resurrected.
Did you? And then where, pray tell, did you see him?
In my mind.
In your mind. Okay.
In my mind.
You're starting to scare me. You know that, don't you?
Oh, of course. But yes, I just wanted to say a few things to the listeners out there that I do thank them tremendously for their support and lots of nice comments from listeners out there. Very nice. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the show very much.
And if I may, I'd like to say thanks to those people as well, even though, I mean, it's all based on, it's Michael's show, but nonetheless, I'm a part of it, and I love doing it, and I like those who are listening to both Michael and I, and those who like me as well. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We both really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's our show, Mike. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, it's your show, buddy. It's got your name on it.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
You're not lying about that. That's true.
You forget about that?
I mean, yeah, I forget. But I did just want to say a few things before we have some fun, and I don't mean to bring us down at all, but the reality that we face ahead, I don't think many people realize what's ahead, Mike. A second wave of COVID-19 is coming.
This is, it's interesting you bring this up because I've been thinking about this all day.
It's happening, Mike. I'm starting to worry here, and I have lots to talk to you about in this regard, my friend. Life as we used to know it is not returning, I'm afraid, Mike.
I sincerely hope you're wrong.
Me too. Me too.
I really do.
Yeah.
I know we've spoken about this topic before and how we feel that things may never be the same again. But I got to tell you, I'm a kind of person who hangs on to these ideas of there being some, what's the word?
That's your blind faith.
That's my blind faith.
You have blind faith, which is that's the oxymoron here.
But I'm trying to think what a positive attitude. I want to see things go back to normal, normalcy.
Me too. I agree. I feel like most will be angry when we get sent back to shelter in place, and people are going to get very frustrated, just like they are now. But that's what's going to happen, Mike. As we slowly open things up yet again, we're going to get sent right back to shelter in place.
And here's why I think some
I hope I'm wrong, Mike. I hope I'm wrong. Go ahead.
Me too. And I think what's going to happen is there may be a revolt because I don't think everybody I think as time goes by, more and more information is going to come out about this virus.
Sure.
And how, in my personal opinion, I think we may have taken it too far.
You think we took it too far?
I think we may have taken it too far. It seems illogical for such individuals to be allowed to work, whereas others aren't. And I find that greatly disappointing and somewhat sneaky, if you will, for lack of a better word.
Sneaky.
I just think that something's going on here.
Right.
And we've had the last two guests have really brought not Len, Leo, and I forget the guy who we did before that, but
Paul Cottrell, you mean?
It might have been Paul. I can't remember, but we're getting interesting information that's coming through. I hope that.
Or do you mean Jeffrey Prather?
No, we did Prather a while back, so it wasn't him.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is, I'm hoping that people will begin to see other sides to this instead of the blind, one-sided, dogmatic view of politics.
Well, that's what all of this has become.
Yeah.
It's been politicized, which is just, it's asinine to say the very least.
Well,
but that's what happened.
On one point, or I should say, on one angle, you've got the fact that this was created and released by the CCP, and on the other side, you've got people who are saying that we don't, we'll take precautions, but don't take away our freedom, where people like such as myself can't work. I'm sorry, but I think it should be a individual's preference to make that decision on whether or not they should be working and how cautious they should be concerning the avoiding getting infected. We've never locked anybody down for an epidemic like this before.
That's right. This is all very new.
Yeah, and I think it's wrong in to some extent. As I said, I go shopping, and these people are working. Yet for the business that I'm in, I can't work, and it's very frustrating. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, it is very frustrating indeed, and you kind of depend on these events to make your livelihood, Mike. But the problem with that is, I don't see this coming back to any sort of normalcy, Mike, where events are going to be going on.
Well, they're already talking about opening up sporting events.
Sure, but
Football, baseball,
yeah, but you
basketball.
don't. The thing is, the only way you get in is through all sorts of testing. I mean, the events that you plan on doing, are they gonna? Do they have enough deep pockets per se to do such testing beforehand?
I understand what you're saying.
You never know
what you're getting at.
Right.
At the same time, I've seen people's ingenuity, and businesses going out of their way to protect themselves and their clients. So maybe there's a way to get around things where a person like me, who's a professional photographer, can get around as well. And,
I think so. I do think there can be a way, but I'm thinking a lot of people are going to be afraid still.
Be that as it may,
don't you think?
Again,
it's going to take a
while. It comes
while.
down to that individual making their own decision on what they feel is right and what they think is safe. Let's face it. The majority of deaths that have occurred in this country have been in old folks' homes, and a large majority of elderly. So
a lot of obese people, by the way. A lot of diabetics. Lots of people with diabetes are croaking from this.
And again, what I was just going to say is people who are who could be subject to this virus. Even myself, technically speaking, I am an immune, what's the word?
Deficient?
Deficient. Yeah, right. I'm immune deficient person due to the fact that I've had cancer as many times as I had, and the chemotherapy and radiation and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm at risk as well. I get it. I understand it. At the same time, what am I supposed to do? Sit in my house for the rest of 2020 and 2021, not working and wondering whether or not I'm going to get a $1,200 check a month from the government? That's not going to sustain me or millions of others for that matter.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's why you have to adapt. We all have to adapt now, unfortunately, because most people are probably not going to take the risk right away. We might have to wait it out just a little bit longer, sadly, before people say, we're going to go ahead and risk it anyways.
And, I've heard that as well. Yes,
it might come down to that.
Say again?
I said it might just come down to that.
Right, and like you just said, there's a very strong, even Paul Cottrell said it.
Right.
Very, very possible that there is going to be a second wave. In fact, he said there is going to be a second wave.
Yeah, and the hospitals here are already overwhelmed, by the way. It was just the other day when I said the cases were low. Well, not the other day, a few days ago, but the hospitals here, by the way, Mike, are overwhelmed now, and the cases are rising here.
And is that because of people being careless?
No clue.
Do you know what the age group of these people who are being infected is?
I don't.
See, I'm hearing that it's primarily elderly people.
Yeah.
That's what I've been hearing.
Sure, but you don't have to be elderly to get the virus. Lots of the young sailors out there in the Navy, lots of them got infected, and they are perfectly healthy.
Right, and that's my point. See, there's that other theory about being able to, like, if you stay in and don't get out to get vitamin D from the sun, your immune system becomes compromised,
right,
and you are very susceptible to the flu. So that's why on one of the shows I even told everybody, being inside all this time, take vitamin D. It's very important. Take vitamin D. It's a good method to help yourself try to remain as healthy as you possibly can, as well as plenty of vitamin C, plenty of garlic, and zinc. Just take some vitamins.
It's very funny that months ago I was really pushing for those to take vitamin C, way before those in the mainstream were even suggesting such thing. I was already saying vitamin C. I'm telling you,
absolutely, that's common sense.
That's what basically made me feel much better.
Sure.
Vitamin C, lots of heavy dosages of vitamin C. That did the trick, but you have to be careful as well. Drinking too much of vitamin C could mess up your stomach.
This is true. If you're drinking orange juice, it could be very abrasive to your stomach. But at the same time, if you're taking vitamins like I do, I drink orange juice once in the morning, and then later on I'll take about about 750 milligrams worth of vitamin C later on. But I've been doing that for a long time. So it's just a good idea to take supplements to help keep your immune system as strong as it possibly can be.
Oh, absolutely. I'm seeing a message here from Brett Lewis in the chat, and he says nano silver and nano zinc is good stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Zinc is really good for you, and I'm actually taking nano silver.
Are you?
Yep.
What brand, may I ask?
I don't offhand? No, I don't have the thing on me, but it did come in, so I'm starting to take it. I just felt perhaps it's time to really optimize your immune system.
That's right. Some doctors would disagree that taking it is useless, and they said they've seen. In fact, my doctor, my primary care doctor, even said to me, he's like, "Oh, that's crap." He says, "I've seen too many people turn blue from taking."
And that same doctor, Mike, I'm sure would say you shouldn't smoke cigarettes either.
I'm a little confused on that statement. Yeah, well, cigarettes are bad for you.
Sure, but we're seeing here studies now from France and
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Hong Kong now, and even Canada. I even mentioned it a long time ago, and was sort of I've asked a few people, and they were a little shocked. But now there's plenty of studies that are pointing out that those who are smokers, those who smoke cigarettes, those who like nicotine, and those who like marijuana seem to be croaking far less than those who don't partake.
Well, then that means you and I are going to be fine.
We'll be fine. Got lungs like Michael Phelps here.
Seriously, I can't even begin to have a discussion with you about that, because that just makes no sense.
It makes zero sense, but
it really does.
But that's
when
what
you
the
inhale
studies.
Smoke of any sort, it's just bad for you.
It's not good for you, but there's something to it, Mike. Apparently, lots of different people are seeing these studies. You can look it up yourself online. Those out there listening to this right now, pull up a tab on your browser and look it up. the Canadians out there were naming all sorts of different marijuana strains, by the way, those that have high dosages of CBD, not only just THC, but apparently the properties in marijuana are very anti-inflammatory. These properties that are in the cannabis plant seem to be quite medically beneficial for your health. Of course, I already knew that those who have Crohn's disease, or whatever it's called, Crohn's disease, rather.
Crohn's disease.
Crohn's disease, yeah, those who have that issue, lots of people out there suggest taking CBD oil to help fix that.
Right.
A good way to treat it.
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. That's perfectly fine. But again, I'm sure you will not find many doctors who will say, yeah, go ahead and start smoking. But
well,
interesting
check
enough,
this
though.
out, Michael.
Interesting enough, though, Mike. It is unusual that we see that, though.
It is. I
It's
agree
weird.
with you 100%.
Jesus.
Now, here's something that you're going to find very odd that my
Go ahead.
doctor said, my primary care doctor. This was the last time I saw him, which was about 3.5 weeks ago. And we just happened to be shooting the shit, and I told him about how I was on a radio show with you. He also does a radio show, obviously in reference to medical terms and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, sorry?
I said, oh, really?
Yeah. No, I mean, he's on the radio. He's actually on an FM station out here in Pennsylvania. So, in talking to him host to host, if you will,
right.
I said to him, so let me ask you a question, Doc. I said, what do you think about the medication, hydrochloroquine?
Oh, yes, hydrochloroquine, right.
Hydrochloroquine. And he said, oh, no, don't take that stuff. It'll kill you.
Really?
Meanwhile, I've heard so many conflicting views on the radio about people who are taking it, who say it's great, it'll work, that it's been around for 60 years for people that were being treated for malaria, and that as long as it's administered properly, you should be okay. As a matter of fact, my cousin, who I had mentioned several weeks ago, who had been infected with CCP virus.
Right.
They were giving him the drug, and he was practically at death's door because the virus had gone to his brain.
Wow.
And now, yet, since he's taken that medication, he is home and recuperating.
I think it only works on certain individuals out there. I think everyone is a little bit different.
Is that the case?
It might be. I think it's because there's different strains of it. So I think it is affecting some people differently.
I suppose
it's just my take. I could be wrong, but I just have a strange sense that that's probably one of the reasons why. And by the way, Mike, you asked what brand I was using.
Yes.
I think it's called Divine Living. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I don't think that's the brand I'm taking because I have it too, and I can't remember what it's called either.
It's like it's 1,000 ppm.
Yeah, something like that. And then you take it in a dropper and you put it under your tongue for like a minute or so.
Yeah, I've been taking this for like maybe the past like week now, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know what? To be honest with you, I feel energetic.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's the reason why. If it's,
I don't think that's the case though, Michael. I don't think it has anything to do with giving you energy.
I don't know why, but I do feel that way.
It could be psychological.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with making you invigorated. It's simply a precautionary measure for you to. You understand how it works, right?
Correct. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The past couple days, though, I've been feeling energetic when I wake up all of a sudden.
Well, good.
I don't know.
I wish
why.
I had that feeling. I wake up tired.
Yeah, most of us do, but I can clearly state to anyone out there listening that this seems to it seems to make me feel a little bit better. Maybe it's a placebo effect. I don't know.
It's possible. But as I say, it's good as a precautionary measure.
Sure.
Again, my doctor, he also frowned at me when I told him I was taking that. He's like, oh, that's crap. Meanwhile, it was another doctor, a good friend of mine, Dr. Marjana, who actually was the one who turned me on to it and said, "Here, start taking this."
Hmm.
And I bought it and I started taking it.
I think it just depends on the doctor.
I think so too. Not everybody agrees with each
Exactly.
other in the medical field.
So yes, I'm beginning to feel a bit concerned for those out there who already face psychological issues. The impact this has on the human psyche is definitely concerning to me. We've all read and heard the outcome of just a few months in this situation, and we Americans have not handled this the right way. We were just not ready for this, Mike.
No, and personally, I think the entire world may have handled it in a very odd way. But you know what? I can't blame that on any one person
Well, you
or
can't.
government.
Yeah.
All I can say is F you, China. Go F yourself. Thank you very much.
Although things are bad, rather, there has been some positive about this wake-up call. America has had its moment of clarity now, and we've realized what matters and what doesn't.
That's right. And by the way, I just want to clarify, when I say
Jump in
F
there.
you, China, I'm not talking about the people. I have nothing against the people of China. It is the government, the communist government, that I have a real issue with.
Isn't that funny, by the way, Mike? We're all using medical terms that we've never used before. It's funny as hell, man. I swear, these conversations I have with people, I talk to a few friends of mine, and they're all using words that I've never used before. And so am I, though, But then again, I have heard some of these terms before. I've heard of hydroxychloroquine many times, many medicines as well. That's a whole nother story, by the way, Mike. But people
Michael,
but Mike, people are using the word droplets. So I laugh every time. When was the last time you fucking used the word droplets? Good God.
Well, you know what it is? You know what it is, man? I know you're going to agree with me on this, but every single person you talk to, I talk to, what's the first comment that comes out of their mouths? Virus.
Virus, right.
Everybody, every single person is talking about this.
Well,
Everybody.
you have to. We have to. I mean, that's the big hot topic right now, Mike. This virus
Worldwide.
that we're experiencing.
Yeah, worldwide.
We're kind of, that's the issue right now.
And I get it.
It's
At
hard
the
not
same
to.
time,
Yeah, it's hard not to, though, talk about it.
it's hard not to. It's right. It's hard not to, but at the same time, Jesus Christ, I'm sick and tired of talking about it.
Oh, me too.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, when we talk about it on the show, we do it for a purpose. But, talking about it with people
Well, that's what I'm talking about in reference to the psychological effect.
Yeah.
That's really concerning because I know people are sick and tired of all this.
Yeah. How can you not be?
Sure.
Like everybody wants to get back to normal. We all want to get back to our lives, man. We got families to
I just
care
don't
for,
know, though. I
bills
just
to
don't.
pay.
Yeah, I just don't know how soon we're going to get back to that sort of reality, if we are at all. That's
Right.
the most concerning part for me, Mike.
Oh, I understand.
It might not come back. Things might not come back to the way we used to. Those who experienced a Christmas, perhaps, with someone that they cared about, someone that they loved, a friend, a parent, perhaps. I don't know, whatever have you. That might be the last Christmas you have, boys and girls. Let that sink in.
I hope not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Christmas man myself.
I'm not either, but I mean, I was just thinking about it today.
It has to do with family, friends, get-togethers, social events, and just people being people.
Sure.
People need people.
Yeah, right. So, Mike, you're doing okay out there, right? Your back is against the wall there, I'm sure.
It's so to speak, yeah. I'm just waiting for the governor to lift the ban of stay at home. Last I heard, a friend of mine told me that the county I live in, which is Wayne County in Pennsylvania, is Wayne County, which is apparently beginning to open. And from what I understand, Governor Wolf of Pennsylvania had set the stay-at-home ban or the stay-at-home order up until June 4th. Now, whether that has changed or not, I don't know. But that was the last I heard about it. Oh, maybe 2 weeks ago, give or take.
And the guy's name is Governor Wolf.
Governor Wolf. I think it's Tom Wolf.
Tom Wolf. What a name.
I know. I don't know if that's
hell.
right though, but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me.
Wow.
So Wolf. Yeah.
I like that though. That's pretty cool.
I think he's a Democrat.
You think he's a Democrat? Okay.
I think he is. I'm not sure. I don't know much about him. I'm still learning my state. You'd think I'd know who my governor was. I don't even know who my mayor is.
Amazing. Amazing, boys and girls. But yes, Mike, I'm sure you're having a better time right now than Joe Biden is.
Oh, golly. Joe Biden.
He's
what an
really
embarrassment.
He's really shot himself in the foot this time.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear about all did I think I sent you a text
we're
yesterday
getting into
about
it. We're getting into it right now. Our boy Joe
Okay.
Biden taking a lot of heat right now, and he did it once again, Mike. This guy, he just never learns.
No.
He never learns. The guy just never learns. I don't know.
I feel sorry for him. I really do. I really, really do.
This time, our boy, he was doing an interview with Charlemagne the God. And for those who don't know who that is, he is a popular radio personality and internet darling. He's a host on a very, very popular radio show called The Breakfast Club. That's out of New York. And apparently he was doing a one-on-one interview with none other than our boy, Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe with his latest statements, he has shot himself in the foot potentially, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
And you know what? The funny thing is, nobody's gonna say a damn thing about it.
My God. By the
Could
way,
you imagine if it was Trump?
Could you
imagine?
By the way, hold that comment. I was gonna mention something here, and let's play the audio first, Mike.
Right on.
Let's do this.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take
you.
a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
Come on.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
And that's the wife, by the way, telling him to wrap it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she didn't want him to go on any longer.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
Let's play that one more time.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take
you.
a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I
And
look
there we
forward to
go.
seeing you in person.
My God, telling a black guy that he's not black. Only Joe Biden, boys and girls.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh man. And
Wow,
yet
wow, wee, wow.
nobody said anything about it.
Can you
know?
believe that, Mike? If that was Donald Trump,
We
can
never
you
hear the end of
believe
it.
it? So, Mike, I looked on Twitter, and it seems like a lot of people are just not very happy with our boy Joe Biden. They're not happy with him over that one, and I'm sure it's something he was made aware of because he also issued an apology shortly after.
An apology.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, Mike, I don't even know what to say. I want to hear it one more time. I was that amused by it. Let's hear Joe
You gotta
Biden.
come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
You ain't
It don't have
black.
nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take
you.
a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
All right, thank you so much. I really
Oh, boy.
Anyway, thanks.
Good Lord.
You know what? I guess I'm not black.
That's what he was thinking at the end of the interview there with Joe Biden. He was just thinking, well, I guess I'm not black.
What do you know what show it was? Oh,
Breakfast Club.
It was Breakfast Club. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think it was like a special segment of sorts. I'm not sure if it was. Well, obviously, I don't think they're in the studio. It was just some sort of one-on-one interview that he was given permission to have. And the wife obviously tried to get him out of there quickly. She was like, "Oh shit, he's screwing up
again.
He's doing it, folks. He's doing." She thought, "Oh, here we go again."
Yeah, it's amazing the things that he says, and yet the Democratic Party just stand back and, oh, that's okay, it's just Joe Biden. But anybody else, they would crucify him, especially a Republican.
Now, regardless of the outcome, it's going to be damn entertaining watching Joe Biden and Donald Trump go and have these exchanges with each other.
Got to ask you, Michael.
It's going to happen, Mike. It's going to happen.
You think so? Because that was my question. Do you really think it's going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to come down to Joe Biden and our boy Donald Trump. Both of our boys here are going to battle it out.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, Joe's mind falls and hits a curb, and that's the end of him. Do you really think that he's going to make it to the?
Are you saying he's going to go into some sort of vegetative state?
I think he's already.
You think he's already
in a vegetative state.
Oh my.
So I'm just wondering, because we had talked about this with a couple of guests who said that
sure.
They may end up taking him out of the race at the last minute, and then somebody else would end up taking his place. I just don't know how that would work.
Yes, you are referring to the old trick there.
What, a Democratic trick or a voting trick?
Oh, it's an old Carney trick.
An old Carney trick.
Yeah.
And can you explain it to me? I'm not sure I understand what it is.
The old switch and bait? Or the old bait and switch, rather?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That's a Carney move, yeah.
Well, another thing that he said was when they asked him about his running VP mate, vice president mate, that he had a list of black women. So right off the bat, every Democrat talks about how racist the Republicans are, yet all they do is talk about race. Everything is race with them. So what? Now he has to get a black woman VP just to make it look good? I mean,
yeah, lots of individuals on Twitter, lots of African Americans out there very angry with Joe Biden. They are calling him a racist now.
Of course.
So that's what people on Twitter are definitely bothered by, the actions of Joe Biden. You can look on Twitter yourself. There was even a hashtag on Twitter called Joe Biden is racist, by the way.
Wow. You know what, Michael? I'm sure you would agree that every time these guys talk about how not racist they are,
right,
they just put their foot right up their ass, because they're always saying things that are race related. Race this, race that, race that. I mean, if you're not a racist, why does race take a role in every topic that you have to talk about?
All the time. But yes, my fellow black brothers and sisters on Twitter were complaining about Joe Biden being a damn racist, basically. And, he definitely seems like he was pandering to the African American community, and they thought so too. So they're not having it. They're not accepting Joe Biden or his apologies. The black community on Twitter, very, very upset with one Joe Biden.
Listen, man, President Donald Trump has done more for the black community than I think any of the previous presidents combined, including that POS Hussein Obama.
Amazing.
Who did nothing for the minority group. Nothing.
Going back again, by the way, Trump and Joe Biden here, if they do exchange words, it's going to be pretty entertaining. And I don't expect it to be very civil at all. I get the sense that things are going to turn out like a comedy roast.
I think entertaining is a very That word isn't even close to. It's going to be a slaughter, Michael. It's going to be a slaughter. I'm pretty sure you realize that, right?
It's going to be like a comedy roast, except both men are not going to be joking. That's for sure.
Yeah. Comedy roast. And I'll tell you, Biden is going to get roasted like a chicken on a spit.
That's the way I'm seeing it, Mike. It's just going to turn out that way for the viewers.
No doubt.
I'm not sure if I should be entertained by that, but to be honest with you, Mike, I see this also as political masquerade, political theater to a certain extent.
That's right.
I'm still shocked.
Good way to put it.
I'm still shocked that sleepy, creepy Joe Biden still going through with this.
And I was about to say the same thing. The fact that he's even taking it as far as he is, and that the Democratic Party has voted him in as such to represent them is just, it's
incredible.
Astounding.
Well, this is the best they got, apparently. Joe Biden.
Can you believe it?
I mean,
can
no
you
and yes.
believe it?
No and yes, because people lack common sense.
You got that right.
So, I mean, I've always known that. It's always on display here in America. Joe Biden's still going through with this. Again, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I belong to no political party. And that means I come with no bad habits. I call it like I see it. I'm a straight shooter, a legit shooter, but I digress. People on Twitter are definitely not happy with Joe Biden. Now, Mike, I hate to say it, but let's be fair. Again, if it had been Donald Trump, the man would have been crucified.
Absolutely.
It would have been all over the media.
Anybody who is not a part of the Democratic Party, when they do something that obviously is controversial in a statement, they'll jump on you until your ribcage breaks. But if it's one of them, you don't even hear about it. In fact, the news will rarely even cover it. I'm curious to know if CNN even made mention of the comment.
I have no idea. I haven't watched CNN in ages. I mean, I read articles that come from CNN every now and then that pop up on my phone, but as far as actually watching it, I'm not actually spending any time with that or any other media outlet on television. That is online. That's a different story. I'll read whatever pops up here or whatever is sent to me, but a whole different story. And holy hell, Joe Biden is out of his mind. I mean, Trump is a bit batshit crazy too, but Joe has surpassed him in so many ways. And let's not even mention Hunter Biden. I don't want to disrespect him. I mean, it's just out there for the guy. I don't mean to trash the son, but
Well, why not? The guy.
I mean, he's not here to defend himself. I don't want to trash him. Poor Hunter Biden. He doesn't know.
As it may, that's fine. That's
he doesn't know.
Respectful of you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's he's out of his mind too. The guy, his dad's Joe Biden. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. The guy used his father to manipulate an oil company, a petrol company, to make millions of dollars, and there is Joe Biden on tape bragging about it, and yet nobody is contesting it.
Only in America, baby. Only in America.
Only in America. That's right.
Only in America. And of course, it says Trump. I was going to say Tramp.
President Tramp.
The Tramp campaign senior advisor, Katrina Pearson, said in a statement that Biden's remarks made clear that, quote, Joe Biden believes black men and women are incapable of being independent or free thinking, end quote.
Remember the comment he made about how black children can be just as smart as white children?
I recall that. I remember hearing that thinking, wow, look at Joe Biden out there. He's living wild.
Look at him out there. Look at him. Hey.
Look at him out there. Biden on a sort of warpath there. And of course, Biden's campaign senior advisor wrote on Twitter following the backlash from the comments that Biden made, stating that the comments were just made in jest.
Oh.
It's just in jest, Mike. Don't worry. He's not a racist. He's not telling a black guy that he's not black.
Oh.
So she also
okay.
followed up with, let's be clear about the VP was saying. He was making the distinction that he would put his record with the African American community up against Trump's any day.
Okie doke.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's what she said. And if that were the case, he should have just, if that were the case, he should have just said that instead of what he said, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Joe Biden is just a dumbass.
He's a dumbass.
He's a dumbass for this one. He should have never said that. And he screwed himself with any of the African community out there voting for him. He's just screwed that up.
Well, yeah, and he's been doing it over and over again, as you know. So
it's not a smart move. I mean, you got to play this the right way, Mike.
Look, man, just the fact that the Democratic Party has narrowed it down to this guy, I mean, that just says volumes right there. This is all they got.
Isn't it incredible?
It is. It's incredible. I as I've told you, I was a Democrat for 26 years.
That's incredible to me, in my opinion.
I could never, ever think of being part of the Democrat Party today because I just see so much hypocrisy in everything they say and do.
Mike, I have to say, in the year 2020, it is incredible that race, religion, politics, it always comes down to it in some way.
Yep.
You think we would have evolved further away from such subjects, but we are such a curious bunch, a group of individuals seeking the truth, seeking for what we have always known, but the truth has always been what's inside, Mike. That's my hippie moment for this evening. That's my Sedona, Arizona moment for this evening.
Excellent, bro. Excellent.
You got it, bro. You got it, man.
Excellent, man. Wow, totally.
Yeah.
Let's smoke some weed, man.
You got it, brother. But for sure, it's very, very unusual, the fact that race, religion, and politics. That's what it's always all about.
Indeed, I agree.
Always there, always there.
And it's and like I said before, always trying to say that it's got nothing to do with race, but they always include it in their conversations and their statements. It's always about race with them.
Yep, identity politics, Mike.
Yep.
Oh boy, it's incredible, really, what we go through and all of this, the political masquerade, as I like to call it. And of course, Mike, there's another Fox News poll that finds former President Joe Biden leading President Trump by 8 points nationally.
You think?
Again, I don't have to remind you how useless polls are, but that's what's being reported, boys and girls.
I think they ask the people that they want to ask. I don't think that they ask everybody, so therefore I think a lot of the polls are biased.
I don't even believe the polls.
You can't. How can you?
I just don't.
Who did the poll? CNN?
I think it was Fox News.
Oh, really?
I think they were the ones who conducted this.
Then
But
I'm shocked.
Don't quote me on that, though, Mike. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that's 100% the truth, but that's what I saw in this article before.
I'm with you in the what am I trying to say? In the accuracy of such polls. I think some of them are just plain stupid because, like, I seriously believe that they ask the people that they want to ask and not a wide poll that would include all types of people.
That's what they do on television, by the way, when they interview certain individuals. They're always
That's right.
Yeah, they're always handpicked.
That's right.
Can have a too smart individual there. That might deteriorate
ruin their ideology.
Their views, right?
Yep.
So moving on, it seems like many places are starting to reopen, as we discussed earlier,
Yes.
and this time Donald Trump declared and demanded governors to reopen churches, by the way.
Now, not for nothing, you know what? Churches, in my personal opinion, are not nearly as important as opening up businesses, in my personal comment. And in my opinion, nothing against churches and people who believe in God, but
Sure.
come on, man, let's get the people back to work. The hell with the churches, no pun intended. But Come on.
To hell with them.
Give me a break.
My
With the
God.
warm weather coming out, they could stand outside on the steps and conduct a mass if they wanted to. But I mean, in the meantime, let's get the people back to work.
I'm not exactly sure how I feel entirely about just letting them go back into church, but if that's what they want to do, and if they can do that safely and in a very civil manner, not infect anyone else, I say sure. Let them go to church. Let them do that. If they want to, let them go to church if they want. Trump went on.
Let them go.
Let them go. If that's what they really want to do, just let them go then.
Again, I get it, and I don't. You know what? It's not even a major concern of mine.
Not a concern of mine either.
My real concern is let's get the jobs going again, man.
Let's
get some work going. Let's get this country back in order. Again, I don't give a damn about the sports complexes and the churches. I don't give a damn about them. Get the people back to work.
Trump went on to say, in America, we need more prayer, not less.
Whatever, that's fine. If they
even
want to pray, go right ahead.
To be honest with you, I don't even think Trump is religious, to be honest with you.
He has said a lot of religious related things, like, how prayer is important. I don't know if they've got any footage of him going to church like they used to have of like President Bush Sr. or even, I don't know, maybe Clinton. But everyone used to see footage of like some of the presidents going into church.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I don't know. I've not seen any footage of him churching out.
Churching out. That's a good one. But yes, this will indeed please someone like Paula White. For those who forgot, that is Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. Last time I heard she was acting no different than Kenneth Copeland, talking about the supernatural protection from the coronavirus.
Oh, whatever.
She was also praying that God would terminate all satanic pregnancies too.
Oh, great. That's just what we need.
We got some audio here of Paula White. Let's roll the audio, Mike.
Hurt my ears. Go
ahead.
Here we
go.
No more delays to restoration of this great nation, the United States of America. For Psalm 71:2 says, "In your righteousness deliver us and rescue us. Incline your ear and save us." Psalm 107 says, "You deliver us out of distress and out of destruction. Your word will not return void," according to Isaiah chapter 55, verse 11. So I declare your word. I declare divine intervention and supernatural turnaround. You will restore this land. According to Psalm 118:25, save our nation, O Lord, and send prosperity now.
Amazing.
For Deuteronomy 28:8 says, command your blessing upon this land. You said in Deuteronomy 8:9 to bring us into a good land without any lack. For your word declares in Psalm 33:2, blessed is the nation whose God is Lord. So I declare you right now to be Lord over this nation, over the United States of America, and we receive your blessing over any plague, over any economic distress. You will stay the hand of the enemy according to 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 16.
Amazing. That was Paula White.
Isn't she the one you sent me footage of dancing like a bee?
That's the one.
Yeah. You know what,
That's the one. I mean, I got one more audio clip here. Let's roll that one.
Go ahead.
Wherever I go, God rules.
Whoa.
When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds.
That's right, Mike.
I had every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
Holy ground. Holy hell, the music.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That's her.
Saying no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
We are in a spiritual war right now. Let every demonic network that has aligned itself against the purpose, against the calling of President Trump, let it be broken. Let it be torn down in the name of Jesus.
You want me to tell you what my thoughts are? The thoughts of the King of Kings, the thoughts of the Lord of Lords. I'm downloading heaven.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. What happened there? I gotta hit play.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my God, she's
You're
speaking
kidding.
tongues.
That's her?
This is Trump's girl.
Oh my Lord.
Oh shit. Uh-oh. She's gonna rap now.
Now she's doing like black Jesus.
She's gonna rap.
A little bit cute, all right? I am Paula, who is pretty. Well, maybe I'm not going to be pretty when I'm 90 years old. Here's this former messed up Mississippi girl. Lived in a trailer that they called trailer trash. Daddy committed suicide, got pregnant out of wedlock, been married, been divorced, not just once, twice. People go, well, how'd you become?
Oh, twice, Mike. I didn't know that.
Twice. Oh, what a holy woman she is.
Wow, amazing.
The spiritual advisor of the president. We'll get to that later. It's all in there. Michael Jackson, Kid Rock, the president. It's all in there, all right?
Thank you, Paula. What a great job you do. The evangelicals. I hear we're more popular than ever with the evangelicals. You're the only one, and she'll tell the truth. She'll only tell the truth.
Southern California is looking at there's already law that's passed through the governor that says the Bible is a book of hate speech and to ban the sale of it. Snapchat was created as the largest human trafficking because the greatest people on there were human traffickers because the FBI and because intelligence could not do it because it's live and it's real time and they can track your kid in less than a second and take them. There's a Department of Treasury in heaven that God is watching over everything you do, and you are storing up eternal treasure that will go so far beyond, I think, that we can even begin to imagine. So you need to send in $3,500.
Amazing, Mike.
Man, let me tell you, I
don't even know where to begin.
I would have more respect if he had like a Catholic priest representing his.
A Catholic priest.
Honestly, like evangelical people are they're lunatics. They really are. And I think I'd have more respect if, for the whole campaign and the president, if they had somebody who was a priest or a rabbi, for that matter, instead of somebody running around saying, talking about the things that she talks about, and then claiming, I've been married many times, and what did she say? She was a recovering drug addict or something?
Oh my goodness, she was married a few times.
Married twice, yeah.
And she had a child out of wedlock. Can you believe that?
Had a child yeah. So there you go. That just goes to show you what kind of a person is an evangelical person. It's always the ones who have sinned the worst, who come into God's light, so to speak, and say, "Oh, I'm saved."
Oh, she's saved, Mike. I mean, it's all good now.
Yeah. That's how people justify themselves. They find themselves to be so righteous that whatever they did in the past, whether it was murder, drugs, abortion, whatever, they just, God, I saw God and I asked for forgiveness.
Repent,
and
Mike, repent.
Now I praise the word of God. Give me a break.
Yes, that's the way it goes, Mike.
Sorry, people out there who believe in God, but
not a Paula White fan.
No, no, not quite.
Oh boy,
she just acts like a lunatic. I'm sure you'd agree.
Well, I mean, I saw that footage of her acting like a queen bee.
Queen bee, yeah.
She was jiving around there.
What a crackpot.
She was like having a seizure on stage.
I'm running around and I'm dancing like a bee. And
she was nutty, that one. That Paula White out there. My God.
Whatever. These people are crackpots.
Not as crazy as Bill Gates, though.
You think?
He's a creep. Look at this.
I don't know. Actually, I would
what
debate
else
that
are
too.
we not that we need to take action on now?
Well, the idea of a bioterrorist attack is kind of the nightmare scenario because they're a pathogen with a high death rate would be picked. Now, the good news is, I'm not trying to depress you, it's tough enough
Too late.
right now.
Too late.
Most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1, most of the work we'll do to be ready for that are also the things we need to do to minimize the threat of bioterrorism.
My goodness. That's our friend, creepy Bill Gates. And I think we have a call here, Mike, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we should maybe get to this call here. And caller, you are live on the air. What's going on?
Not much, guys. It's Lawrence, Student Indy.
Nice.
How's everybody in tonight?
What's up, brother?
Oh, boy.
What's on your mind?
I heard that clip before. This is a little compilation, huh?
What was that, sir?
The Barbara, what's her name?
Are you referring to Paula White?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, that was her.
My analysis would be either controlled opposition, definitely a front person, or a competing cult. And obviously using the New Testament, etc., to justify whatever narratives she's pushing.
Right.
And most likely she's been traumatized, etc., and thus controlled as the front. What do you guys think?
It's possible. Do you think she probably had a traumatic upbringing at some point?
No doubt.
I think she probably, yeah.
Right.
Most of them do. Most of them do. A lot of people who become extremely religious, they go through this trauma in life, whatever it may be, alcoholism, drugs, being, bullies, they beat people up, whatever. And then all of a sudden they get this epiphany. They think they may have seen God come to them in spirit form or whatever. And all of a sudden, everything they did is resolved and they are atoned and they are all about being good. And in my personal opinion, I think they're all hypocrites.
What do you think about that, caller?
I'm sorry, and most likely they've been split into 2 or 3 altars, which one of them comes out as thinking that there are, holier than thou, and another altar is probably feeling like a victim, and the one that's underneath is the one that will be used as the aggressor, while the front one thinks that they're doing good.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's my sort of hypothesis.
Right. And caller, I gotta ask: are you religious yourself?
Spiritual science, for lack of better words.
I see. Okay.
I try to avoid labels.
Okay.
Just basically truth and love, and take it down from there.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
it's, you know what? If you're a religious person and all you really want is people to be good to one another, I can respect that.
Sure.
I want the same thing. I may not share the values of Christianity or any of the other mainstream religions, but ultimately I want the same thing a lot of people do, and that is for humanity not to kill each other, not to destroy the planet, not to be just bad people, but I'm sorry, I can't see that. Maybe I'm just a negative person, but all I see is a planet of humanity that is just, they're violent, hateful, jealous, greedy people, and I don't see anything getting better about our species as long as I'm on this planet. That's just my view.
I mean, the hypocrisy is through the roof.
Unbelievably, yes.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Peaking. I said, wow.
And caller, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, caller, but what's your opinion on COVID-19? We're coming up on a wrap here, but don't worry, we have time to talk to you.
Okay, so from what I've heard is that it's a training exercise, and it is from an operational level first, globally, so meaning that it's a psychological warfare operation, global, and basically I'm presuming that it's dealing with the original credit bubble, which I believe was inflated to 1933 and has been deflating ever since, and been manifesting in these quote-unquote bubbles, like the 80s, the 90s, or the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, and they're basically destroying the entire system to bring something new in, which we should take a chance and create our own system. They've destroyed it. Quit complaining about something that doesn't longer exist. Create your own.
Right.
When you
are
say
here
they,
now. Do it now. Otherwise, you'll create something else, and then everybody will be crying about something else forever.
When you say they, Who do you mean they?
The people that take charge, right? People who understand how commerce works, etc.
So
people
politics,
who
is that
are
what
running
you're
the
saying?
civilization.
Politicians?
Pardon me?
Are you saying politicians? Is that what you're referring to?
No. Those are front. Those are actors. Those are like
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
this is what I'm referring to as a political masquerade.
Yes.
Right.
Actors. Right.
Correct.
Like you said. Yep. Okay. I get it.
But like the pieces that they put on the betting table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
And where do you see this going, my friend? I gotta ask. Are you going to be taking a Bill Gates vaccine?
I'm not even going to be in the position where I would have to choose to take it or not to take it.
Good for you.
Right.
Best way to win the game is to never play it.
Good answer.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I'd sooner take a vaccine for rabies than Bill Gates'
From
vaccine.
the local veterinarian or whatever.
Yeah.
My goodness. Have you been listening in, by the way, since the start?
I apologize. I have not.
You caught us late. Okay.
I noticed the pattern with the video you've been playing, so I wanted to comment it because I was seeing it was a really good selection. It gives a more broader spectrum of the public figure.
Right.
Well, that's okay. Hopefully you like the show, and if you can, maybe you'll subscribe to it and
sure.
Listen to more of our shows. I think you'd if you like
Absolutely.
this, you should like some of our other shows.
Yeah, drop the link in the Discord, guys, and then I'll spread it around.
You got it, brother. Well, I do want to thank you for calling in, and we will definitely talk again with you.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great weekend.
You too, brother.
Thank you
Take
for
care,
calling.
man.
Not a problem.
Take care, man. And there he goes. Great caller there. I'm glad he got the call.
Yeah.
Very nice. So
Subscribe.
That's right. Subscribe if you haven't already. I would advise you to do so. This has been a pretty good series of shows we've done.
Absolutely. And if I may just say, Michael, for those of you out there, if you subscribe to the Michael Decon program, this way you will be informed when the shows are happening. Because as you may or may not have noticed, a lot of the shows have been scattered about. And we've done shows sometimes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then, the next week we might just do Tuesday and Saturday. So if you subscribe, you'll get info as to when the show is going to air. And this way you can hear us each and every time.
That's right. So, Mike, definitely plug anything you'd like. Always a honor and pleasure to have you here. It's
calm
been a
down,
fun
Michael.
night.
Calm down.
Calm down.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Michael, for yet another wonderful show. I thought it was great. Thanks to Len Kasten. Great interview. If you're interested in any of my artwork and photography, you can check it out at horribleartwork.com. If you'd like to hear or check out any of my musical efforts, you can go to Mike Hideous, and that's MYKE, MikeHideous.com. If you'd like to reach me on Facebook, it is facebook.com/hideous Mike, MYKE. Had a great time. Thank you, Michael. It was awesome.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
Okay. You have a great night, and I'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great night.
Mahalo. And there he goes, boys and girls. And of course, as we take it home here, and I pulled this Larry Silverstein style, I do want to thank all of you that hung out with us here in the chat room. And yes, the calm down Mike indeed. Calm down, everyone. Calm down to the chat room. And of course, thank you very much to Christina. And I believe it was, who else? Yeah, I believe it was David, right? Was it David who donated, or was it Brett? I think it might have been Brett and Christina, but I do thank all of you out there for donating. And of course, if you want bonus material, please direct yourself to patreon.com/Michael Decon. And that's where you'll find interviews with me one-on-one with a guest. And yes, you can learn about the history of the program if you go to patreon.com/Michael Decon. You can hear about some of the early trials and tribulations of this program. And that's always fun too. Yes, exclusive content only for you. And keep in mind, the Oli Damagard interview I did upload for all of you for free, even though that was behind the paywall. The reason for that was the fact that last Friday's show disappeared into the ether thanks to YouTube and thanks to Gary out there who couldn't calm down and had to report the stream. Yeah, so thank him. This is just for the hardcore listeners out there, those who sign up for Patreon. I do promise it's quite good. Patreon.com/Michael Decon. Don't forget, anything does help to keep things rolling. Even when you donate on PayPal.com, over at MichaelDecon.com, if you go there and use PayPal, you will get the show from me, all shows included. I'll personally send you that because some people don't want to sign up for Patreon. I can see that. I understand that some just want an episode or two. Don't worry. I'll give it to you all just for any price, any donation you make at PayPal. Go to MichaelDecon.com for that link. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, take us on the road with you. Download the podcast rendition of this program on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, and Spotify. Once again, thank you to everyone in the chat, and to those who listen only on the replay of the podcast rendition. Thanks to all of you out there, too, for supporting the program. What does the future have in store for us? You know, I can't answer that. Whatever it is that you do choose to believe, you must remember to adapt and evolve. That's what life is all about, my friends. And with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody.